Chapter 1242. Just say it. Your Honor, I feel that. Lord Qing Su has a better idea. Dou Fusher wasn't going to fall for Qing Su's trick. Qing Su said softly, Your Honor, subordinate believes that Wei Chang will appear sooner or later. Yi Hua felt that it was better not to ask. These two people still don't have brains. However, Your Honor, I feel that Dong Huang is a little strange this time. Qing Su said in a low voice. Dou Fusher nodded. I still think that person is a little strange. Yi Hua took out a stick of cigarette and lit it up, then said faintly, I feel that everyone is acting weird. The three of them walked slowly towards the youth assembly. They stood high up on the spectator stand. Although it was a little far away, it was not a hindrance. On a stage, a fierce battle was currently happening. However, Yi Hua didn't have the mood to watch it at all. Qing Su, if they wanted to do something bad to Baiji, when would they choose to do it? Yi Hua asked curiously. Qing Su said in a low voice, If it were me, now would be the best time. Now? Yi Hua muttered. That's right. I am not by Dong Huang Baiji's side right now. This is a good opportunity for me to make my move. He knew that Dong Huang Baiji's mood wasn't good, and she would definitely want to be alone. There weren't many people around her, and it would be the best time for him to make his move. After hearing that, Yi Hua did not become excited, and he also did not have any plans to go back. Even if something were to happen, it would be them who would be in trouble. You guys really don't know anything about Her Majesty. She is a fiery hot woman. Only in front of me, she is like a little lamb. Just as they were chatting, a person appeared behind them. Yi Hua and the others knew about it, but none of them chose to turn their heads back. They were just that arrogant. Since they were standing at the back alone, did they have to turn their heads back? There are too few people who are able to make me turn back. Dong Huang Baiji is in danger. The person who came was naturally Dong Huang Ying. He knew that Dong Huang Ying had already gone to harm Dong Huang Baiji, and he was powerless to do anything about it. Thus, he could only come and tell Yi Hua about it. Although Dong Huang Ying wanted the Empress, he wanted the complete Empress, not a soulless shell. Yi Hua heard it, but he still didn't turn his head around. Why are you telling me all these? Why? Dong Huang Baiji is in danger, aren't you going to save her? Dong Huang Ying asked in a deep voice. Why was this man so calm? He was like this when he attacked Ying family, and he was still like this now. Save her? You don't understand. You should go and save your people. Yi Hua smoked the cigarette and blew a mouthful of smoke into the air, appearing to be very comfortable. I was just worrying that the ghost did not come out, and now that the ghost has come out by itself, it saved me a lot of trouble. Dong Huang Ying frowned, then turned around and left. The Empress must have been blind to marry such a man. Within Dong Huang Baiji's room, right now, Dong Huang Baiji was not lying on the bed. Instead, she was sitting beside the wooden window and looking into the distance. His mind was in a mess, and he didn't know what to do. In the past, I seemed to be a bad woman. In any case, I was the kind of woman that was not welcomed, and was doubted by everyone. Dong dong dong, at this moment, the door rang. Who? Dong Huang Baiji asked confusedly. Yi Hua definitely wouldn't knock on the door, and Yi Hua's subordinates wouldn't knock on the door either. Baiji, it's me. Dong Huang's voice sounded slowly. This caused Dong Huang Baiji to feel very puzzled. Why did this man come here? It was very strange. Please come in. Dong Huang Baiji shouted out in a low voice. Dong Huang Ji pushed open the wooden door and walked in, then said with a smile, Baiji, have you gotten used to living here? It's pretty good, the environment here is pretty good. Dong Huang Baiji said lightly, seemingly not putting up her guard against Dong Huang Ji. A trace of a smile appeared on Dong Huang Baiji's face. It's fine as long as you feel that it's good. It has been a very long time since you have returned home. Home? Everything here is very unfamiliar to me. Dong Huang Baiji said faintly. She did not feel that this place was her home. Where there is a home, there will definitely be a Yi Hua. Dong Wangji laughed lightly, then sat on the wooden chair and patted the white shirt that he was wearing. Baiji, how is your body? Dong Wangji suddenly asked. Dong Wang Baiji's gaze became serious. Leaning on the windowsill with one of her hands, Dong Wang Baiji looked at the back of Dong Wangji's head with a puzzled expression. You? Baiji, I am really happy that you are able to come back. After all, I have been waiting for you for a long time, and in the end, I was about to give up. However, I met a person. At that time, I knew that we would meet each other sooner or later, and thus, I have been waiting for you. If Dong Wang Baiji still doesn't understand right now, then she would have been an empress for nothing. This Dong Wangji wants to harm me, and I am the one who delivered myself to him. However, Dong Wang Baiji was also very confused. What is the name of that person that you are talking about? Oh, his name is Dong Wang Ying. He is a slave that I took in. In the past, he was called In Kongshire, right? In Kongshire. Although Dong Wang Baiji had never met In Kongshire before, she still knew that name. It's actually that. Dong Wang Baiji doesn't even know how to address that person anymore. Back then, I only went to that place because I was angry. I didn't expect that In Kongshire would actually become Dong Wang Ying. My God, I didn't expect that. Do you feel that your body doesn't have any strength left? Dong Wangji asked faintly. What are you trying to do? Dong Wang Baiji questioned coldly. Dong Wangji stood up, then turned around and looked towards the weak Dong Wang Baiji. The Dong Wang family is afraid of one thing, dragon incense. This is a type of sandalwood incense. As long as one smells it, one's entire body will become weak, and one will not be able to circulate one's energy. Dong Wang Baiji looked towards the sandalwood incense that was at the side and tightly wrinkled her brows. You guys had planned this from the start. I'm sorry, what you said is correct, everything had indeed been planned out. Why? Your attitude in the past wasn't like this. Could it be that everything that you said was a lie? Dong Wang Baiji tightly held onto the windowsill, not letting her body fall down. Beads of sweat had already dripped down from her forehead, and she was gasping for breath. Dong Wangji took out a handkerchief and lightly wiped away Dong Wang Baiji's sweat. Child, you were born with extraordinary talent, and even your father was envious of you. Your bloodline is the purest in history. This caused our hearts to be clouded by lard, and in order to obtain your bloodline, we could only separate you and raise you separately. You guys are raising me like this? You can understand it that way. However, I didn't expect that your strength would become stronger and stronger, and it seems like you are a bit out of control. Originally, your father planned to directly kill you and seize the power of your bloodline, but what a pity. You killed a path of blood out of him. Also, because of you, your mother took a blade from your father, and that is the true cause of her death. Dong Wangji said with a slight smile, seemingly not placing the matter in his heart at all. To experts like them, as long as there was a better way to break through, they would be willing to pay any price. End of this chapter. Chapter 1243. Furthermore, Dong Wang Baiji was only a child, and this child was born by them in the first place. Therefore, they believed that they had the right to decide the life and death of this child. This was the cruelty of a large clan. No, it should be the cruelty of the world. Dong Wang Baiji finally understood. So it turns out that what she said earlier was all a lie, and this is the truth. He had been locked up since he was born. It could be explained as being raised. These people were just spying on his bloodline. It was a tragedy to be born in such a family. You want to obtain my bloodline? Dong Wang Baiji asked in puzzlement. That's right, child. Your bloodline is the purest in the Eastern Emperor clan. If you obtain it, unifying the 9 prefectures and 5 seas is also possible. This time, Dong Wang was not interested in the position of clan leader, but in the 9 prefectures and 5 seas. He wanted to get rid of the other clans to show how strong the Dong Wang clan was. Dong Wang Baiji knew about the temptation of power, but she didn't expect that they would be so cruel just for the sake of power. Child, do not be afraid. There will be no pain. This time, Dong Huang flipped his palm and a black pillar appeared in his hand. This pearl was prepared for you. Your father didn't get to enjoy it, so I got lucky. This time, Dong Huang smiled. This smile of his seemed to be sincere and happy, as if he had finally achieved what he had been waiting for many years. However, at this moment, the door was pushed open, interrupting their conversation. Dong Huang's face darkened. He said coldly, "What are you doing here?" The person who came was naturally Dong Huangying. Just now, Dong Huangying went to look for Yi Hua, yet Yi Hua didn't come. How could Dong Huangying possibly sit still? The Empress was won by me, Dong Huang. Including the soul. No one could move. Master, don't suck her soul. This was the first time Dong Huangying acted arrogantly in front of Dong Huang Yi. In the past, he was always respectful towards Dong Huang Yi. But now, he seemed very calm. Because Dong Huangying knew that if he did that, he might very well die. But even if he were to die, he would remain firm in his belief. The Empress is mine. I'm the man who's going to marry the Empress. Dong Huang Baiji looked towards Ing Kongshire. This was the person that she wanted to marry in the past. However, that was only a decision that she made after getting angry. Dong Huang Ji didn't even turn his head and said indifferently, "Who do you think you are? How dare you beg me? You promised me before. Let me have her." Dong Huangying shouted angrily. This liar. Hearing Dong Huangying's words, Dong Huang Baiji was very surprised. I didn't expect that they would have such a transaction. In that case, they are in conflict right now? It seems like you're here to question my decision. This time, Dong Huangying was already emitting killing intent. However, Dong Huangying didn't seem to be afraid at all. He wanted to fight to the end. Dong Huangying said in a deep voice, "That is what you promised me. Then I've decided right now. I won't agree. Then, I can only use the most primitive method." Dong Huangying immediately released his aura. Obviously, his aura was much stronger than before. But no matter how strong he was, he paled in comparison to Dong Huang. He didn't even have the strength to fight back. "Seems like you want to die." Dong Huang said indifferently and raised his palm. Dong Huangying, who was imposing just a moment ago, was instantly suppressed. His entire body seemed to be tied up by something, and his face revealed a painful expression. "When you sold your soul to me, there were no more conditions." Dong Huang slowly clenched his fists. As for Dong Huangying, he felt as if his body was being squeezed, and his 7 apertures were bleeding. Bah! The Empress is mine. Everyone wants to snatch her away from me. Dong Huangying's obsession was a bit terrifying. Even if he was going to die right now, he wasn't afraid at all. Reckless fool. Dong Huang clenched his fists tightly. Crack. All of the bones in Dong Huangying's body began cracking. However, it couldn't be seen from the outside at all. But even so, Dong Huangying's gaze was still on Dong Huang Baiji's body. Next life. In my next life, I still want to marry you. At that time, no one will be able to stop me. Dong Huangying waved his hand, and Dong Huangying's body turned into dust and disappeared from the room. I gave you an inch and you want a foot. I promised to give you a physical body, yet you are still not satisfied. Dong Huangying said in disdain. Dong Huang Baiji leaned on the windowsill and gasped for breath. You even killed your subordinate. He is not a subordinate, he is just a person who is neither male nor female. Even an ant is nobler than him. Dong Huangying said lightly. Yi Hua claimed that he was an inhumane person, but compared to them, Yi Hua was rather compassionate. Towards Ing Kongshi's death, Dong Huang Baiji didn't feel much. After all, so many years had passed, and Ing Kongshi suddenly appeared and even collaborated with others to deal with me. I was disturbed by him for a while. Let's begin. I have waited for this moment for a long time, and I don't want to continue waiting any longer. Child, thank you. The black pearl floated up from Dong Huangying's palm. Dong Huang Baiji could be seen with the naked eye. Needless to say, the black pearl was definitely absorbing Dong Huang Baiji's bloodline. Dong Huang Ying's gaze was filled with excitement. I am going to possess the strongest bloodline very soon. That indestructible shrine's palace master is going to teach me a lesson with a slap. Dong Huang Baiji could feel that the bloodline within her body was currently trembling. This pearl is indeed very powerful. However, Dong Huang Ying slightly wrinkled his brows. I have been absorbing for such a long time, why isn't there any reaction? This doesn't seem to be possible. While wrinkling his brows, Dong Huang Ying continued to wait. Dong Huang Ying, are you feeling very confused? Dong Huang Baiji said in a low voice. Dong Huang Ying did not say anything. I don't feel very good. Logically speaking, I have already absorbed all of my bloodline, so why isn't there any reaction at all? Dong Huang Baiji continued, in actuality, other than Dong Huang's bloodline, there is another bloodline within my body. There is another bloodline? Dong Huang Ying cried out in surprise. That's right, that bloodline is called Yi Hua's bloodline. Dong Huang Baiji knew that the power of Yi Hua's bloodline had already fused with her body, even Qingye had Yi Hua's bloodline. To be more precise, as long as one gives birth to Yi Hua's child, one would be able to possess Yi Hua's bloodline. This is definitely a super great benefit. If all the women were to know about this, they would definitely flock towards it. This is simply a cheating tool. Yi Hua's bloodline? What bloodline is this? Dong Huang Ying asked confusedly. This bloodline is very powerful, powerful to the point that I don't even know how powerful I am. Dong Huang Baiji raised her head and looked towards Dong Huang Ying. Her slightly arched body gradually straightened up. Although the black pearl was absorbing the bloodline, it was unable to absorb anything. Dong Huang Ying didn't believe it. Stretching out his hand, Dong Huang Baiji held onto the black pearl with his hand and used his own cultivation technique to increase the absorption power. Dong Huang Baiji just stood there without moving. However, Dong Huang Ying's expression became more and more grave. How is this possible? It is impossible for there to be a mistake. End of this chapter. Chapter 1244. Dong Huang Ji, the one who made a mistake is not the pearl, but yourselves. Dong Huang Baiji said coldly. She was extremely disappointed in this family. Dong Huang Ji looked at Dong Huang Baiji in disbelief. You are not Dong Huang Baiji. Are you panicking? Dong Huang Baiji slowly sat on the wooden chair at the side. Dong Huang Baiji's slender fingers were placed on the armrest as she looked at Dong Huang Ci with her eyes. Dong Huang Baiji appeared exceptionally calm. Compared to the perplexed Dong Huang Ci from before, the current Dong Huang Baiji was the real empress. Dong Huang Ji's expression tensed up as he stared at Dong Huang Baiji, as if he was trying to see through her. However, he didn't manage to see through her. After a long time, Dong Huang Ji laughed lightly and said faintly, Baiji, I have still underestimated you. As expected of the most talented person in Dong Huang family. After so many years, you have become even more powerful than before. Seems like your pure bloodline has helped you quite a bit. I don't know about bloodline, but I do know that having a powerful man is much more important than bloodline. Dong Huang Baiji's lips formed an arc. Bloodline is nothing. Dong Huang Ji frowned. He didn't expect that this would happen and deviate from his plan. Looking at Dong Huang Baiji in front of him, Dong Huang Ji had the intention to kill her. However, if he were to make a move, it would definitely cause a huge commotion. At that time, everyone would know that he was going to steal her bloodline. After all, Dong Huang Baiji had displayed her bloodline before. I shouldn't have done that back then, but who knew? This woman actually became so powerful that I can't even suck her bloodline anymore. Are you thinking of killing me? Dong Huang Baiji asked lightly without any fear. But are you afraid that the commotion would be too big and that it wouldn't be easy to clean up the mess? Dong Huang Baiji was, after all, an empress. Dong Huang Ji said gravely, Baiji, you have become very smart, but this will only speed up your death. You want me to die? Are you sure? After all, I have a man who regards me as important as his life. Dong Huang Baiji said proudly. In any case, Yi Hua is not here, so I might as well boast as I want. Dong Huang Ji snorted coldly. Baiji, the current you looks much more comfortable than before. Of course, because I'm not that easy to provoke, and I won't be bullied by you. Dong Huang Baiji's tone gradually became cold. Towards those who wanted to harm her own people, Dong Huang Baiji would never be soft-hearted. On this point, she was different from Qinya. So. Therefore, you will die today. Dong Huang Baiji said lightly, announcing Dong Huang's death. Dong Huang chuckled. You're announcing my death? How arrogant, even more arrogant than before. You are thinking that I don't dare to make a move here, right? At that time, if the commotion were to become too big, it would not be good for me either. After all, if I were to kill you, my reputation would not be good. Dong Huang Baiji said lightly. So you still know. This is also the reason why I didn't kill you. Dong Huang Baiji said in disdain. This Dong Huang Baiji is a bit hard to grasp. Just now, when Dong Huang Baiji sucked on the blood, I knew that Dong Huang Baiji's strength is definitely not beneath mine. But I want to tell you, you think that I will cause a commotion, but when I kill you, I will definitely not cause a commotion. Dong Huang Baiji's tone was cold. The moment I walked into this East royal family, I was plotted against. Even these rooms are filled with dragon incense, it is as if they are trying to harm me. This is simply intolerable. Since you are so cruel to me, then don't blame me for not giving you any face. Ha ha ha. Dong Huang Baiji, although you have a pure bloodline, it is impossible for you to kill me silently. Dong Huang Ji laughed loudly. He was laughing at Dong Huang Baiji for overestimating herself. At this time, 3 figures walked into the room. She might cause a commotion, but I can. Yi Hua said faintly while smoking. Qing Su and Dou Fusher followed behind him. Dong Huang Ji suddenly turned his head around. I actually didn't notice them coming in. Yi Hua sat beside Dong Huang Baiji, Qing Su stood beside Yi Hua, and Dou Fusher closed the door and stood guard at the entrance. His meaning couldn't be any clearer, you will not be able to leave today. Just give up on this thought. Dong Huang Ji was naturally able to sense it as well, and he said gravely, looks like you are planning to go against the entire East royal family. Yi Hua flicked the cigarette ash and said lightly, you used the wrong word, this is not a fight, this is a one-sided fight. One-sided fight? Looks like you don't know anything about the East royal family. Looks like you are the same as other people, you don't understand the situation clearly. This time, I brought my wife here just to cause trouble. Originally, I thought that since you two are a loving family, there would be nothing to cause trouble for me. However, I never expected that you still gave me an excuse to cause trouble. Yi Hua had been watching from outside for a long time, and he thought that Dong Huang Baiji had already settled everything. But when he came back, the Empress was still chatting with someone else. Thus, he didn't disturb her and eavesdropped on them from outside. Feeling that it was about time, Yi Hua walked into the room. After all, it is time for me to flaunt my strength. I said that I will take turns to act cool. Then, would like to see how you two are going to kill me silently. Dong Huang Ji said in disdain, and a sharp aura was emitted out from him. Yi Hua flicked the cigarette but that was on his finger and said faintly, originally, I planned to insta-kill you, but you felt that I wouldn't dare to kill you openly. This made me a bit surprised. In this world, there is nothing that I, the Supreme Overlord, don't dare to do. Just when Yi Hua finished speaking, a powerful aura suddenly blossomed, forming a powerful airwave. The room was instantly blown over, and Wan, who was sleeping at the side, immediately let out a scream. I thought that someone was going to kill me, and when she saw Yi Hua, who was not far away, she hurriedly ran over. Not a single building in the surroundings was spared, and all of them collapsed. Everyone felt and even heard such a thing happening in the Orange Building. Dong Huang Ji, who was hosting the youngsters' assembly, frowned. What is Uncle doing? Something's wrong. This aura isn't uncle's, there isn't even a bit of bloodline aura, it belongs to someone else. Jiang Wuyu, who was sitting at the side, said in a low voice, something happened here. I know. Dong Wangji immediately disappeared from the spot, and Jiang Wuyu hurriedly followed after him. Today, the Dong Huang family will not be peaceful anymore. As the disciples of the Orange Building, they all rushed towards the location of the incident. Right now, Dong Huang Baiji was a bit dizzy. Yi Hua is trying to blow this matter up. I originally wanted to kill Dong Wangji stealthily. Does Yi Hua really think that I am afraid of him? You all treated my woman like that, how can you all not pay the price? Do you all really think that my temper is that good? You are truly thinking too much. Dong Wangji didn't expect that Yi Hua would actually dare to do such a thing. With such a huge commotion, everyone in the Dong Huang family would definitely know about it. The matter went out of control again, and this caused Dong Wangji to be very angry. This man is truly crazy. End of this chapter. Chapter 1245. After all, Dong Wangji still wanted to continue living here. However, Yi Hua was different. He stood on the side of reason and did not need to consider his face at all. Since the other party was already bullying me, do I still have to give in? That's impossible. Yi Hua felt auras flying over. The first to appear was naturally Dong Wangji. There was another person that Yi Hua did not recognize, and that person was naturally Jiang Wuyu. Very quickly, the surrounding area was filled with people from Dong Huang family. Everyone was very confused. Uncle and Dong Huang Baiji? What is going on? Dong Wangji looked very solemn, and his face was very gloomy. Jiang Wuyu, who was standing not far away from Dong Huang Baiji, tightly wrinkled his brows as he looked at Yi Hua and Dong Huang Baiji. What is going on? Dong Wangji asked in a low voice. As the family master, he had to display the dignity of a family master. Yi Hua stood up and said faintly, although you are the family master, shouldn't you greet your big sister when you see her? Dong Wangji. Yi Hua wanted to make things clear to everyone. The disciples who did not know what was going on were all stupefied. Dong Huang Baiji is the family master's big sister. I have never heard of the family master having a big sister. Dong Wangji was very angry. This man is going to leak out this scandal. Jiang Wuyu was even more astonished. This woman is actually Dong Wangji's big sister? When did I have a big sister? Didn't I only have big brother? The surrounding people immediately started discussing. Dong Wangji shouted out angrily, everyone, quiet down. Audacious. You are actually spreading rumors. Dong Wangji shouted out again. Of course, he had to redeem the family master's face. This kind of thing definitely cannot be leaked out. Yi Hua sneered and looked at Dong Huang Baiji, seemingly saying that your blood brother really doesn't like you. Compared to Dong Huang Baiji, Yi Hua seemed to be much more fortunate. At least his blood brother acknowledged him as his big brother, and he was very obedient. However, Dong Huang Baiji's blood brother would rather care about his face than acknowledge her as his big sister. This was truly disappointing. Indeed, Dong Huang Baiji could feel the disappointment in her heart. Right now, she did not feel like a family at all. To her, these people were even more unfamiliar than strangers. Yi Hua said faintly, the two of you want to monopolize the pure bloodline, what a great scheme. Nonsense. I, the Eastern Monarch, will never do such a lowly thing. The aura of the Eastern Monarch pole spread out, and there was an indescribable feeling of holiness, which made this sentence much more believable. The Eastern Monarch Ji had indeed not done such a thing. This was the truth. Yi Hua looked towards Dong Huang Tachi, the great uncle in everyone's hearts. What about you, Dong Huang Tsai? Yi Hua questioned. This time, Dong Huang's face was calm. He said, you too, I'm afraid you've misunderstood something. However, it seems like you two are declaring war on the entire Eastern royal family. Yi Hua let out a deep sigh. This is what it means to dare to do something but not dare to admit it. Yihua patted on Donghuang Baiji's shoulder, indicating that she can let out a sigh of relief. Even if I killed them, I wouldn't feel any guilt at all. Donghuang Baiji slowly closed her beautiful eyes. It seemed like she no longer had any thoughts in her mind. This was exactly the attitude that Yihua wanted. He looked at the crowd and said in a deep voice, "That's right. This sovereign is declaring war on your Donghuang clan. For so many years, there has never been such an arrogant person who dares to stand in front of the family head and say such a thing." Wan Wan, who was standing at the back, was scared silly. Is there a need to be so arrogant? After all, this is the Eastern royal family, can't you be a bit more low profile? Low profile? That doesn't exist. Jiang Wuyu's expression was grave. I'm afraid that today won't be a peaceful day. Your Honor, please allow subordinate to come down, I don't want to dirty your hands. Qing Su, who was standing at the back, said respectfully. Yihua said faintly, it has been a long time since I fought, and I want to exercise my body. I hope that I can warm up a bit. Donghuang Tachi shouted out coldly, don't be so arrogant, this is the Eastern royal family. It is precisely because we are in the Eastern royal family that I am giving you all face. If not, I wouldn't even have said a single word. Yihua said in disdain. I am giving you all face, but you all don't want it. Inexperienced child, you truly don't know the immensity of heaven and earth. Donghuang Tachi took a step forward and released an overflowing killing intent. Even the air was trembling, and everyone could feel Donghuang Tachi's anger. Seems like great uncle is going to make his move. Do you all only know how to talk glibly? Donghuang Tachi's figure disappeared from where he was and appeared in the sky behind Yihua. Donghuang Tachi's right fist smashed down. This fist contained the might of heaven and earth, and the entire sky seemed to be trembling. The fist emitted out a scorching aura as it smashed towards the back of Yihua's head. Donghuang Tachi felt like he could see this poser's head exploding. A lowly man dares to be arrogant here. I don't know where your courage comes from, and you even dare to call yourself the Supreme Overlord. Who gave you the courage? Although Yihua's strength isn't as strong as Yizizi's, in actuality, he is already very strong. It's just that Yizizi is more terrifying. Towards this kind of fist, Yihua didn't want to use any flashy moves to deal with it. I only need a single fist. No, it's a slap. Pa. A loud and clear sound suddenly rang out. The sound was deafening and pierced through the entire world. Everyone was dumbfounded and looked at the scene in front of them in disbelief. What just happened? Why did it become like this? Behind Yihua, a large crater appeared, and within the large crater, a figure was lying on the ground. Without needing to think too much, everyone knew who the figure was. Yihua stood with his hands behind his back and said faintly, flashy and useless. All the disciples were shocked. Donghuang Jishang and Jiang Wuyu's jaws almost dropped to the ground. This man. He slapped Donghuang to the ground. Donghuang, who was in the crater, was trembling slightly. He placed both of his hands on the ground as if he wanted to stand up, but he didn't have the strength to do so. But this time, Donghuang's heart was filled with shock. Just now, he didn't even see the other party's movements, and he already felt a huge force on his face. His mind went blank, and the huge impact made him unable to stand straight. Even now, he couldn't think straight. Wan Wan was stunned. This man could actually slap Donghuang to the ground. Was this still a person? Was that a god? Donghuang was considered one of the best in the 9 states and 5 seas this time, and yet he was taken care of so easily. Donghuang Baiji didn't say anything. Even if these people were to die, I wouldn't feel any heartache. After all, they only have themselves to blame. This move of Yihua's shocked everyone, and they basically did not dare to make any movements. After all, the one that was beaten up was Tai Shu. He was no small fry. At this moment, Yihua took out a cigarette and lit it up. He took a deep breath and exhaled. Not dead yet? He seems to have some ability. Everyone took in a breath of cold air. Not dead means that he has ability. Then, if he died? That means that he doesn't have any ability. Dong Wang Jishang vomited out a mouthful of blood. Until now, he still didn't understand why he lost. There are still a lot of big moves that I didn't use. End of this chapter. Chapter 1246. Flicking away the ash from his cigarette, Yihua looked towards the person he was talking about. As expected, you are unable to let me exercise my muscles and bones. Who is the next one? The East Imperial Pole? Are you coming up? With the cigarette in his mouth and both of his hands inside his pocket, Yihua's actions were insufferably arrogant. Wan was already stupefied. Just who is this person? To actually be able to deal with Dong Huang, this old man, with a single slap, and even now, he is still twitching. Was he going to die? Right now, Dong Huang's entire body was twitching. It was as if he was struggling before death. Dong Huang Baiji was able to see everything clearly. However, right now, she did not feel any pity for Yihua at all. Of course, Dong Huang Ji also saw it. He didn't have any impulsive thoughts in his heart, but as the family head, he still had to say what he should. How dare you kill grand-uncle? Too arrogant. Dong Huang Extreme Supreme roared furiously. This kind of person was simply infuriating. Yihua snorted coldly, so it is only now that you realize that I am indeed very arrogant. I'll give you a chance. This time, Dong Huang stopped convulsing. He died just like that, directly killed by a single slap from Yihua. A golden primordial spirit floated out from Dong Huang's body, and the primordial spirit fled at high speed. Only those who experienced it would know just how formidable that slap of Yihua's was. That was the most terrifying slap that Dong Huang had ever seen. I have still underestimated these people too much. But could Dong Huang escape this time? It was obvious that he couldn't escape. The golden primordial spirit gradually turned dark green before falling from the sky. It fell to the ground with a thud and turned into a pool of green water. That was a little scary. How could his primordial spirit turn into water? Who did it just now? The man didn't move at all, and the people behind him didn't move either. However, Wan knew that it was definitely that fatty who did it. Jiang Wuyu already had a fearful expression on his face. In front of them, he was completely defenseless. Hopefully, Dong Huang Ji wouldn't be rash as well. If he were to do so, he would definitely die. Now was not the time to be impulsive. But Dong Huang Ji was the family head. There were some things that he had to say. Otherwise, he would lose face today. Don't look like you want to kill me. Why don't you make a move? Yihua swayed his palm, indicating that the slap just now was very pleasurable. Especially that instant when the slap went down, that slap sound was extremely shocking. However, Yihua had to admit that he had indeed used too much force just now. If he didn't use too much force, he wouldn't have been able to slap Yihua to death. Everyone around them knew that if this man could slap Taishu to death with one slap, then he could slap anyone present to death. Yihua crooked his finger towards Dong Huang Ji. Dong Huang Ji didn't want to step out, but his body didn't listen to Yihua and floated forward. The disciples could only watch as their patriarch was humiliated by the bad guys, but they did not dare to do anything. After all, the bad guys were too ferocious. Rushing forward was no different from courting death. Eastern Emperor Ji Shang, speaking of which, I still have to call you brother-in-law. Yihua laughed lightly. Dong Huang Ji Shang's expression was not good. Right now, I will give you a chance to live. Call for help. Yihua said faintly. He wanted me to acknowledge Dong Huang Baiji's identity. Didn't he say that it was fine just now? A struggle appeared on the Eastern Monarch pole, as if he was making a decision. When Jiang Wuyu, who was in the group, saw this scene, he somewhat wanted to leave, but he was afraid that he would be caught the moment he turned around. That would be even more tragic. Seeing that Dong Huang Ji was struggling, Yihua said faintly, "Seems like I have to give you some motivation." "No need, I will call for help." Dong Wangji was naturally a smart person. Since I am going to call for help, I might as well call for help now. If not, when I get beaten up later on, I will still have to call for help. Dong Wangji raised his head and looked towards Dong Wangbaiji, then shouted out in a low voice, "Big sister." Louder, did you not eat? Yihua really wanted to give Dong Wangbaiji a slap. Dong Wangji felt as if he was dreaming. I am the patriarch. Why is it that after they came, I seem to have become a lackey? No. I am even more miserable than a lackey. Big sister. Brother-in-law. Dong Wangji shouted out loudly. The corner of Yihua's mouth twitched. I didn't ask you to call for me. Dong Wangji felt wronged in his heart. You are the one who said that if I call for help, then I will definitely include you. However, when everyone heard Dong Wangji's words, they were all very astonished. Dong Wangbaiji is actually the patriarch's big sister. Why didn't I know about such a thing? Just how many secrets are there that everyone doesn't know about? Yihua took a look at the surrounding people, then said towards Dong Wangji, "Speak, tell me everything that happened." Dong Wangji didn't want to speak. He looked towards Dong Wangbaiji who was at the back. I really can't speak about this. If I speak about this, the consequences will be very serious. The Dong Wang family will really become the laughingstock of everyone. Dong Wangbaiji chose to ignore Yihua's words. Towards this family, her heart is already cold. There's nothing that she wants to say. Yihua can do whatever he wants to do. Brother-in-law, listen to me, this concerns indestructible shrine. Every single family is authoritative. If I were to speak about this, the authority of the Dong Wang family will be lowered, and the power of sealing the shrine master will also be lowered. Therefore, I really can't speak about this. Yihua let out a heavy sigh. I am asking you to speak, so speak. What indestructible shrine? Hurry up, I don't like people who waste time. I really can't speak about this. Yihua could be seen saying in a low voice, I heard that after you die, that shrine master will be released. You? Dong Wangji Shang looked at Yihua in astonishment. This man is going to release Palace Master. Yihua nodded his head and didn't deny it. That's right, I am going to get the Palace Master out. I want to see just how formidable this Palace Master is, to be able to bewitch even my subordinate. You simply don't understand how powerful that Palace Master is. Dong Wangji said in a deep voice. This man was definitely crazy, a madman. Yihua snorted coldly, who does he think he is? Speak. Or die. Take your pick. Facing Yihua's threat, what else could Dong Wangji do? He could only say, this is what a smart person should be. Even if I die, I will still release him. Even if I don't die, I will still have to release him. I might as well just stay alive. How good is it to be alive? As Dong Wangji spoke of the truth, everyone was shocked. This Dong Wangbaiji was actually so pitiful. Even the old patriarch and grand-uncle wanted to obtain the bloodline and even wanted to kill him. Simply too inhumane. As a member of the Dong Wang clan, they all felt ashamed. Jiang Wuyu knew that it was over. That palace master is definitely going to come out. Damn it, I have to go back and make preparations immediately. If that palace master comes out, he will definitely kill all of us one by one. After Dong Wangji finished speaking, he collapsed onto the ground, and his eyes became lifeless. Today was the day of humiliation for the entire Dong Wang clan, and it was all because of this man and woman. Stirring up trouble. Yihua was very satisfied and asked in a low voice, that palace master should be able to come out, right? 7 days later, the seal will be reinforced. End of this chapter. Chapter 1247. Before Dong Wangji could finish speaking, Yihua said, that's right, even if you don't go, you will still be able to come out. Dong Wangji, if that's the case, why didn't I say it just now? Right now, my face is on the ground, and I don't have the face to be the family master anymore. Don't run away these few days, if I find out that you ran away. Hee hee. Yihua gave him a death stare, then looked at Dong Huang Baiji. After all, he is my blood-related little brother. If I really kill him, I won't be giving my wife any face. Don't look at how the Empress doesn't mind, but if I really kill him, I will feel a little emotional. After all, he is my blood-related little brother. Yihua brought Dong Huang Baiji and the others and left. However, they didn't leave the East royal family, and instead chose another good place to stay. At the scene, Dong Huang Ji didn't have the face to face everyone, and he directly disappeared from where he was and went back to seclusion. However, Dong Huang Ji's corpse was still there, and no one went to touch it. This old man is very bad, to even lay his hands on his own niece. This old man is simply shameless. He was directly slapped to death. What a good slap. The disciples slowly left, but what happened today had already spread to the other floors, and even some odd job workers knew about it. And those odd job workers spread the news one after another. Gossip will never be able to be hidden. Inside a broken temple in the 9 provinces and 5 seas. There were a few figures standing here, and 2 skeletons were very conspicuous. However, the 2 skeletons were standing behind a man, and that man was naturally Wei Chang. Wei Chang was a bit flirtatious. A strand of hair was naturally hanging down from his forehead, giving off a feeling of a prodigal son in love. The rigidity that he had in the past disappeared, and he became a playboy. Look at the folding fan in his hand, there are even words written on it. Flirtatious. Truly unique. The one standing at the side was the Imperial commander, Falling Dust. The woman behind him was precisely that ferocious drunken cry. There was also a stranger man. This man seemed a bit cold and didn't speak much. His eyes, there were dark circles around his eyes, or maybe it was smoky makeup, but it was still quite unique. At least the big sister likes this look. That golden nose ring was also very prominent, giving off a feeling that I want to hold on to it. Of course, that steel-like earring was also a bit rough. I'm really worried that the earring might get inflamed and become pustules. After all, that earring seems a bit rusty. Big brother, in any case, you should at least change it to a gold one. Why are you bringing a rusty one? However, this person's facial features were not bad. They made up for these flaws. If he wasn't good-looking, why would he do this? That must be a non-mainstream person. After all, that afro was very eye-catching. This was Lord Ming, whom Wan Wan was infatuated with. That's right, his real name was Lord Ming. These people could be considered the main force of the imperishable shrine. Of course, there were also many underlings. The palace master should be breaking the seal soon. Falling Dust acted like a normal person. He held a tattered broom and spoke as he swept the floor. Drunken Cry, who stood at the back, did not say a word. She looked at everyone warily, as if she did not trust anyone. I'm really looking forward to the hall master's arrival. Wei Chang opened his arms as if he was going to hug the palace master. His worship was a little crazy. The death mage and death assassin who were standing at the back couldn't understand. Their thoughts were still there, but they couldn't disobey orders. As for why their master betrayed them, the death mage and death assassin were also very confused. Looking at this unfamiliar master in front of them, the 2 skeletons were also very confused. Humph. Putting on an act. Lord Ming snorted in disdain. Seeing that the 2 of them were going to quarrel with each other, Falling Dust hurriedly mediated. All right, are the 2 of you enemies? The 2 of you quarrel whenever you are together. Falling Dust. This is an outsider, and you actually recruited him. How do you know if he is truly relying on us? What if he is only pretending? Lord Ming questioned coldly. In his heart, he doesn't believe that Wei Chang joined us normally. Look at that exaggerated action of his, it looks so fake. Following Lord Ming's words, the 2 skeletons went into a daze. What Lord Ming said makes sense. Perhaps, Master is pretending to be relying on us to obtain information for his honor. Wow, Master is so quick-witted. Lord Ming, Wei Chang is naturally loyal to the palace master. Could it be that the mark on his forehead doesn't prove anything? Falling Dust said helplessly. The mark on his forehead is an exclusive mark. As long as it is marked on his forehead, he will have to obey the palace master unconditionally. Lord Ming snorted coldly. Mark. To a powerful person, a mark is nothing. Lord Ming. Are you questioning the palace master's strength? Falling Dust shouted angrily. The atmosphere between the two of them immediately froze, and it seemed like they were about to fight. At this time, Wei Chang laughed and said, Lords, the palace master is about to come out, please calm down. I reckon that the palace master doesn't want to see the two of you arguing with each other, right? Humph. There is no need for you to pretend to be kind here. Lord Ming shouted in disdain. Lord Ming. I will report your actions to the palace master in detail. Do whatever you want. This fellow is a spy. I have already seen through him. Both of you will regret this. Lord Ming pointed at Wei Chang and shouted. Wei Chang held on to his forehead and said helplessly, Lord Ming, I don't seem to have provoked you, why are you targeting me like this? I am targeting you? You are one of the 7 sins, Wei Chang, do you think that I don't know you? I don't believe that you will betray us just like that. Wei Chang let out a long sigh, you don't know how painful it is to work under his honor. You have to listen to him, if you don't listen, you will be scolded. Even if you do the right thing, you will still be scolded. You can only endure it. I have long been sick of this kind of life. So, I'm taking this opportunity to leave. TSK. You speak as if I will believe you. Lord Ming said in disdain. In any case, he didn't believe Wei Chang. However, Falling Dust still believed Wei Chang because he saw everything, but Lord Ming didn't see what happened. I believe that Wei Chang is loyal to the palace master. Lord Ming, you can shut up now. Humph. You will regret this. Lord Ming said coldly. Falling Dust revealed an apologetic look and looked at Wei Chang. Wei Chang expressed that he could understand. This kind of thing was very hard for others to accept. Alright, now let's talk about proper business. Falling Dust said gravely. Sweeping a glance at everyone, he said, the palace master is about to break the seal, naturally, there will be no lack of killing. In this 9 provinces and 5 seas, I believe that everyone knows who sealed the palace master. At that time, the palace master will definitely kill that person. We will naturally follow the palace master and kill everyone. Let them know. The might of the imperishable shrine. Falling Dust's words were a bit hot-blooded, to the point that he was burning with passion. Drunken Cry, who was standing at the back, looked at Falling Dust's back, and a trace of tenderness appeared in his eyes. End of this chapter. Chapter 1248. Wei Chang asked curiously, when will the temple master appear? In a few days. Falling Dust said excitedly. The temple master was finally going to see the light of day. I'm so excited. I can finally see the temple master. What an honor. Wei Chang opened his arms again as if he was going to hug the temple master. However, Lord Ming snorted coldly. Act. Keep acting. Falling Dust stopped talking. He was too lazy to speak. Wei Chang smiled and did not bother with him anymore. When are we going to welcome the temple master? Wei Chang asked curiously. Falling Dust smiled. In a few days, we will go together to welcome the temple master. I believe that with our strength, those family heads can only tremble in fear. Of course. We will be loyal to the temple master. Wei Chang acted cool again, extremely sincere. Lord Ming snorted coldly. You are really not suitable for acting. Only these idiots will believe you. Lord Ming. I dare you to say another word. Drunken Cry shouted. She actually scolded the Imperial commander. Drunken Cry. Don't think that you can do whatever you want just because Falling Dust is protecting you. Wei Chang smiled. Alright, We are all from the imperishable shrine. Stop arguing. If the temple master sees us being so disunited, he will not be happy. That's right. Wei Chang is right. We need to be united, Lord Ming. You better behave yourself. Falling dust gave the final warning. Lord Ming snorted coldly and did not say another word. You will definitely regret it. You will not even know how you died. On the other side, Jiang Wuyu hurried back home to call for a meeting. His goal was for this matter. The East Emperor was dead. He was killed with a single slap. And that man's goal was to release the temple master. However, he did not seem to be from the imperishable shrine. But why would he release such a person? He really did not understand. Patriarch, from what you're saying, Supreme East Monarch will not appear this time? One of the elders asked in a low voice. Jiang Wuyu nodded. Yes, the East Emperor Pole will definitely not appear this time. Then the Temple Master will definitely appear again. When that time comes, the entire 9 states and 5 seas will be in danger. Then what should we do? Let's gather the other 2 families and kill that man. Are you stupid? He killed Dong Huang with a single slap, but if you go over, he will kill you with a single breath. Exactly. Then what do you think we should do? Are we supposed to wait for the Hall Master to come out and annihilate us one by one? Everyone quietened down when they heard this. Of course, it was the 4 great clans that were sealed. Based on the Hall Master's character, he would definitely take revenge on them one by one after he came out. Patriarch, what should we decide? There are only a few more days to reinforce the seal. We can't care about Dong Huang anymore. What we need to do now is to gather the strength of the other 2 families and prepare for the indestructible shrine. Jiang Wuyu didn't have any better ideas. There was no hope for the Dong Huang clan, and he didn't know which side the Hall Master would choose. If he directly went to the Eastern Royal Clan, that would definitely be the best, but if he didn't go to the Eastern Royal Clan, then it would be very troublesome. Patriarch, you have to hurry up. We don't have much time. Jiang Wuyu felt the same way. There was no time to lose. They had to quickly gather everyone. Within the Eastern Emperor clan, Yi Hua was currently chatting with Eastern Emperor Ji Shang. Oh. You are saying that the indestructible shrine was sealed by you all? In that case, if the Hall Master were to come out, he would definitely come and look for you all? Yi Hua asked. If nothing unexpected happens, that should be the case. That Hall Master is a person who will definitely take revenge. Eastern Emperor Ji Shang's expression wasn't very good. I am clearly in my own territory, yet I feel as if I am being imprisoned, and I don't have any human rights at all. Seems like there is no need for me to go out and look for the Hall Master, they will naturally come over. Yi Hua laughed lightly. This is good too. I just have to wait for the Hall Master to come over. Of course, there is also Wei Chang. Eastern Emperor Ji Shang remained silent. This man in front of me is a madman. Even a madman wouldn't do something like this. If the Hall Master were to be released, countless lives would be lost, and countless people would die under his blade. At that time, corpses would be strewn everywhere, and it would be hell on earth. Don't be nervous, it is just a small matter. Yi Hua said lightly. He took out a stick of cigarette and lit it up, then looked at the night sky. Right at this moment, Qingya's voice sounded out in Yi Hua's mind. Hubby, where are you? Baiji and I are outside looking for Wei Chang. How are the 2 of you doing accompanying Mother? Yi Hua asked lightly, and a trace of an arc could be seen on the corner of his mouth. Mother is very happy. We just came back from the Alps, and Mother even went skiing. She is very happy. Hearing Qingya's tone, Yi Hua knew that Mother was truly happy. Yi Hua himself felt gratified as well. Are you planning to come back after playing for a long time? At least for 1 to 2 months. Mother is very interested in this place, and she doesn't really want to go back anymore. After all, Mother is staying in the palace, and Mother has nowhere else to go. Yihua let out a light sigh. That's right. When mother is staying in the palace, she really doesn't want to go out at all. If I were to choose, I would definitely choose to stay on Earth as well. However, there are still a lot of things that I haven't finished here. Yihua, mother said that this place is pretty good. Qinya said in a low voice. Yihua said helplessly, this is what mother told you to say. Mother didn't want to tell you because she was afraid that you would get angry. It is more appropriate for me to tell you. Qinya smiled tenderly. Yihua pursed his lips, wherever mother likes to stay, then let her stay. In any case, it is not that long to go back and forth. All right then, I will go and tell mother. Qinya laughed lightly. What is mother doing? Mother is dancing in the square. Yihua, that's right, Yihua, did you manage to find Wei Chang? Qinya asked curiously. Yihua let out a deep sigh, soon, Qing Su is already settled. That's good. Pay attention to your safety, and pay more attention to the children too. Don't worry, I will keep an eye on the children's side, nothing will happen. And, that's all then, I will be hanging up now. I'm hanging up. Yihua was clearly transmitting his voice, but he made it sound as if he was making a phone call. This is simply a phone call from a different plane. Yihua stood up and walked towards the house. Dong Wang Jishang was a bit confused. This man actually has a mother? Such a cold-blooded man, shouldn't he be an orphan? This is a bit ridiculous. Sigh, it's over, Dong Wang Jishang left with a look of despair on his face. That palace master's formidability is something that you will never be able to imagine. You have been released, but it is impossible for you to go back in. Furthermore, you will be tortured to death, and even you will not be able to escape. You are too careless. You are too careless. However, he doesn't listen to you at all. What else can you do? If you insist on going your own way, when the time comes, everyone will desert you. Brothers, next month is going to end soon. End of this chapter. Chapter 1249. After returning to the room, Yihua saw that Dong Huang Baiji was currently in a daze. Baiji, what's wrong? Yihua muttered. Dong Huang Baiji let out a deep sigh. I really want to leave this place, it's uncomfortable to stay here. Yihua patted onto Dong Huang Baiji's head. We will return after a few more days. Just now, Qinya told me that mother likes Earth a lot and decided to temporarily live there. That's right, that place is indeed good, I also want to go back and live there. Dong Huang Baiji said softly. Yihua nodded his head. How about this, after I finish dealing with the matters here, we will go back and live there. Aren't you going to conquer the world? Dong Huang Baiji asked confusedly. Yihua said faintly, let the children do this kind of thing. I am also a bit tired, it's better for me to live a peaceful life. Perhaps, those few years of comfortable life affected me. Yihua, are you really planning to? Dong Huang Baiji said with a trace of happiness. In actuality, she didn't like this kind of life either. Going back and opening a bar is also pretty good. Yihua laughed lightly. Although that kind of life wasn't passionate, it was still very peaceful. Dong Huang Baiji seemed to be reminiscing about that kind of life. Then, after you finish dealing with the matters here, we will go back together. Let's settle the matters in front of us first. Yihua's gaze became grave. That palace master's strength is definitely not ordinary, otherwise, Wei Chang wouldn't have betrayed us. In a few days' time, I might not only have to fight against the palace master, I might even have to fight against Wei Chang. Seems like I have to get serious too. I am a bit excited. After so many years, I can finally bring out my true strength. I am really looking forward to it in a few days' time. On the other side, Jiang Wuyu found the other two family heads and told them what happened. One of them was called Fu Wen, and the other was called Long Chu. The two of them were the strongest existences in the 9 provinces and 4 seas. After all, they were family heads, and their strength was unquestionable. They were both high gods. Fu Wen's expression was slightly grave as he said softly, "There are still a few days before the seal ends. Can we save Donghuang Ji Shang?" "I'm afraid it's a little difficult," Long Chu said coldly. His whole person seemed a little cold, as if he wouldn't smile at anyone. Jiang Wuyu nodded and said, "That's right. This man was able to kill Donghuang Ji with a single slap. His strength is not something we can fight against. If we go and ask for him, I'm afraid we won't die in the hands of the hall master, but in his hands. If that's the case, then we can only fight," Fu Wen said solemnly. After hearing that, the three of them remained silent. Fighting is no different from dying. But if they didn't fight, they would still die. There wasn't much of a difference between the two. Perhaps if the three of them worked together, they might have a sliver of hope. However, if they were to split up, there was no doubt that they would die. The three of them looked at each other and seemed to have made a decision. As the peak existences of this continent, if they didn't go up, who would? "We need to be prepared," Jiang Wuyu said solemnly. Fu Wen and Long Chu nodded their heads. "Let's go back and prepare. This is a life and death battle," Long Chu coldly said and took the lead to disappear from the stone bench. Fu Wen nodded at Jiang Wuyu and disappeared from sight as well. Jiang Wuyu sighed deeply and looked at the sky. He knew that the hall master would come out one day. However, he didn't expect it to be so soon. These few days would probably be the most difficult days for the three of them. But there was nothing they could do. Should they run away? It wasn't that they didn't think about it. However, as a powerful being, they also had their dignity. Running away was out of the question. In a rocky hill in Tangzhou, there were all kinds of stones with strange shapes. But in a place like this, they didn't seem that important. However, these stones were indeed the key to sealing the hall master. They weren't ordinary stones. They were the stones that suppressed the hall master underground and prevented him from coming out. However, three figures stood on top of the rocks. These three people were naturally Jiang Wuyu, Long Chu, and Fu Wen. The weather today wasn't very good. It was drizzling, but for the three deities, the raindrops were evaporated by the strong airflow before they could even land on them. Although there are only three of us, we might as well give it a try. It would be even better if we could strengthen the seal, Long Chu said coldly. His tone was still calm and composed. After all, they weren't scared. Jiang Wuyu and Fu Wen nodded. Although they didn't believe it themselves, they still had to give it a try. If one looked down from the sky, they would see that the three people were standing at the edge of the spell formation. However, there was a corner that was empty. That was Donghuang Ji. It was a pity that he didn't come today. In the name of the heavens. Bless the world. Might of the earth. Suppress the evil soul. The three people raised their hands high and shouted with a strong aura. This reinforcement didn't come from their strength, but from the power of faith that the entire 9 provinces and 5 seas had for the 4 great families. However, there probably weren't many members of the Donghuang clan left now. When the news spread, everyone's impression of the Donghuang clan fell to the bottom. They didn't expect the Donghuang clan to be so evil that they raised their children like pigs and dogs. Yet, they actually respected them. What the hell? The three people also knew that even if Donghuang Ji came today, it wouldn't help. Along with the three people's shouts, a ray of light descended from the sky. The three people stared at the ray of light. They had seen it many times, but this time, it was clearly different. It wasn't as thick as before, it was much thinner, and even the color was much dimmer. The three people didn't expect that just one person missing would be so serious. The seal had at least decreased by 50%. Along with the injection of the ray of light, the surrounding stones started shining, but the aura that they were emitting was still very weak. Just as the three people were feeling helpless, a few figures suddenly appeared in the sky. These people were naturally Luo Chen, and Wei Chang was also among them. Jiang Wuyu looked over coldly and said gravely, "Indestructible Shrine's people." Jiang family head, good eyesight, you guessed it correctly. Luo Chen laughed lightly. He didn't have any intention of stopping them and allowed them to reinforce the seal. Fu Wen and Long Chu's expressions darkened. These people are all from Indestructible Shrine. Their strength is definitely not ordinary. What are you all trying to do? Fu Wen asked gravely. Luo Chen said faintly, nothing much, you all continue with what you are doing, we will wait here for the palace master to break through the seal. The three people didn't say anything after hearing what Luo Chen said. They looked at each other, and they could see the heaviness in each other's eyes. Just what are these people trying to do? Since they are already here, why aren't they making a move? After a while, all of the ray of light was injected into the seal. However, not only did the three people not feel happy, they became even more grave. Because the seal was only reinforced a little, it was very disadvantageous to the current situation. End of this chapter. Chapter 1250. Everyone, you've worked hard. Do you want to take a break and enjoy your last moments? Fallen Dust smiled slightly, appearing extremely confident. This confidence, of course, came from the powerful temple master. But now, they still had to rely on Wei Chang. Long Chu said coldly, if you want to fight, bring it on. Patriarch Long, you've misunderstood. The temple master is about to appear, so we naturally won't interfere. It's good to let the temple master exercise. I hope you won't disappoint the temple master. Fallen Dust had his own plans. The temple master was about to break the seal, so he naturally had to see blood. If they killed them all, the temple master would probably not be happy. Hearing Fallen Dust's words, the three could not help but shiver. The temple master had been sealed in the previous generation. Dong Wangji's father had also died in the war, but this death had firmly sealed the temple master, which was considered a good thing. Although they could do anything for strength, when it came to the point of death, they could still sacrifice their lives. This was really extreme. The three did not say anything. They stood in the void, waiting for the temple master to arrive, and then making their final struggle. This spirit was admirable. The drizzle seemed to be getting heavier, making the atmosphere even more solemn. The surroundings were filled with rustling sounds. Long Chu looked at Fallen Dust's side. There were actually two undead, looking gloomy and uncomfortable. Patriarch Jiang, it seems like it's about time, Fu Wen said in a low voice. Jiang Wu nodded. The three of them had come early, so they were definitely prepared. To win, they first had to have a formation. For such a life and death situation, the three did not hide anything. They told each other everything they knew, and then used the strongest formation to deal with it. So when they came, the formation had already been set up, and they only needed to activate it. Great Sorrow Cloud Incantation. This was the Long family's top-notch formation. It could even suppress gods. Its main function was to ruthlessly suppress the opponent, so that they could not use their full strength. Although the formation's function was simple, there were very few formations that could suppress gods. So few that only the Long family had such a formation. The three immediately separated, their hands emitting golden light. Golden runes appeared in the pile of rubble, emitting a thick aura that enveloped the rubble. Behind Long Chu, a huge illusion vaguely appeared. This was a Buddha statue. A divine aura washed over him. The Buddha's attribute was light, which was the natural nemesis of the undead. Although Death Mage and Death Assassin were powerful, this kind of formation that was able to suppress a superior god made them feel uncomfortable. After all, their attributes were mutually exclusive. There was nothing he could do about it. Yihua himself belonged to the undead race, and thus, Yihua had a weakness as well, and that was the holiness. Just like the aura that this Buddha statue was emitting out, it was definitely capable of making Yihua feel uncomfortable. Wei Chang could feel the movement of the two skeletons behind him, but he did not make any movements. Death Mage was, after all, a master mage. He immediately enveloped his entire body with a black barrier, and at the same time, he also helped his little brother to cast a black barrier. Only then did he feel slightly better. However, this kind of protective shield is not something that can be used all the time. However, Death Mage can feel that the aura that this Buddha statue is emitting out is becoming stronger and stronger. To the undead, this was double the damage and could easily destroy them. The three of them saw that the undead in the Temple of Indestructible were in pain. They had a feeling that they were indeed very strong, and even they were in pain. This kind of self-consolation was fine, but they soon realized that the other team's main force didn't react at all. Wei Chang could feel that the aura was powerful, but he could directly ignore it. After all, the other team's strength was right there. Fallen Dust and Lord Ming were definitely not as strong as Wei Chang, and their strength was not much weaker than the few family heads. If they were stronger than the 3 family heads, they would have long come over to destroy the Temple of Indestructible God Wei Chang. The reason why Fallen Dust was so confident was because Wei Chang was here. What a powerful formation. Fallen Dust laughed in a low voice. He agreed with the other party's strength. These 3 people are indeed worthy of admiration. Even though they knew that they were going to die, they still didn't hesitate. Jiang Wuyu and the others didn't say anything, and they were unable to calm down for a long time. Clear heart formation. Jiang Wuyu shouted out gravely. This time, it was Fallen Dust's turn to be shocked, and even that Lord Ming was shocked. According to convention, one cannot add another formation to a formation. However, this was a formation. This was unprecedented, which was why the 2 of them were so shocked. This was one of Jiang Wuyu's trump cards. Clear heart formation could be added onto any formation. Its purpose was to strengthen our battle strength and weaken the local strength. However, when stacked with the Great Compassion Cloud incantation, it was still a power that couldn't be underestimated. It could greatly weaken the local strength and strengthen our battle strength. Sword art. Fu Wen shouted angrily, and his hands quickly formed seals. A white cloud condensed in the sky, and it was as if a heavenly eye had been opened. A sword hum pierced through the earth, and it directly descended with a powerful aura. This was a huge sword that was 300 meters long, and there were strange markings carved on the body of the sword, which gave off a dangerous feeling. However, this sword directly stabbed into the center of the formation. All of a sudden, the 2 formations were strengthened. That illusory Buddha statue seemed to have materialized, and a buzzing sound rang out in the air. This was a declaration of death to evil. Pa! The Death Mage and Death Assassin's shields instantly disappeared, and terrifying screams came from their mouths. They couldn't withstand this holy attribute at all, and to them, this was a fatal injury. Trash, Wei Chang said in a low voice, and directly kept his 2 subordinates. Lord Ming, who was at the side, coldly snorted. Fallen Dust glanced at him, but didn't say anything. Meanwhile, Drunken Cry slightly furrowed his brows, and he looked at Wei Chang with doubt. Wei Chang gave Drunken Cry a mysterious smile, and this caused Drunken Cry to hurriedly retract his gaze. Sword art was one of Fu Wen's trump cards, and its effect was to strengthen the effects of the formations. This was simply a perfect match, and it allowed the 2 formations to display their full potential. However, other than strengthening the formations, there was also the sword formation that could be used to attack the enemy, and of course, it had to be activated. These 3 formations complemented each other, and it was able to make the Palace Master suffer as much as possible. However, this was only one of the trump cards of the 3 family masters. To be able to become a huge family in the 9 provinces and 5 seas, it was impossible for them to not have some trump cards. Right now, Fallen Dust's expression was a bit grave. Seems like I have still underestimated them. At the same time, Fallen Dust acknowledged his decision, and if Wei Chang wasn't here today, it would be hard to say. Wei Chang appeared very indifferent. One of the 7 deadly sins, that wasn't a joke. After releasing these trump cards, the 3 family masters felt a bit more at ease, because they saw the grave expressions on each other's faces. End of this chapter. Chapter 1251. The 2 undead were gone, but that man was very strange. Until now, he was still smiling, without any sense of danger. But at that moment, The ground began to shake. As the ground shook, the expressions of the three family heads became incomparably grave, and the trace of calmness they had just now also disappeared. However, Luo Chen and the rest were all excited. After waiting for so many years, the palace master was finally going to appear. They had waited for this day for too long. Cracks began to appear on the shaking ground, and these cracks extended endlessly, letting out ear-piercing creaking sounds. The pouring rain seemed to be frightened, and the rain gradually stopped. Even the dark clouds in the sky were scared away. The entire air was filled with an indescribable terror. From the cracks on the ground, a horrifying pressure seeped out, and everyone felt it. It was still that familiar smell. Luo Chen, Lord Ming, and Drunken Cry all slowly knelt down. Wei Chang smiled and copied them. But to Jiang Wuyu and the rest, this was a declaration of death. However, the shaking ground gradually calmed down, and the dark clouds in the sky condensed again. Violent rain poured down, accompanied by the sound of thunder and lightning, resounding throughout the world. Suddenly, a hand stretched out from the cracks. This hand was covered with mud, but that was not the main point. The main point was that on those 5 fingers, there were all stones. Diamonds? Or gems? That was not known. But Wei Chang felt that this was a thick aura of a nouveau riche. 5 fingers pressed on the wet mud, and it was just such a simple action. Jiang Wuyu and the rest's expressions sank, and they all prepared to attack. But at this moment, a golden light appeared, and it was a little bright. A golden crown appeared in the air. On the crown, there were also many colorful stones embedded. It seemed that this palace master was really interested in stones. The 3 swallowed their saliva, and their heartbeats quickened a little, along with the crown gradually rising up. Everyone could see the face of the crown. This face was very ordinary, not handsome nor ugly, but it gave people a creepy feeling. That pair of eyes seemed to be emitting a bloodthirsty light, and his whole body was emitting a bloody smell. The man's other hand was placed on the wet ground, and his face was very calm. That pair of eyes stared at the 3 people, as if he wanted to tear the 3 people in front of him apart. But at this moment, an accident happened. Ah! The temple lord screamed. He wanted to push himself up with both hands, but the soil was too loose, so he pressed himself down and fell back into the crevice. Everyone could even hear him. Plop! At this moment, a flock of crows flew across the sky. Croak, croak, croak. The entire arena was filled with an awkward atmosphere. How were they supposed to fight anymore? There was no need to fight anymore. It was too embarrassing. But Falling Dust said with a smile, "Palace Master still likes to play." Play? Wei Chang was confused. At this moment, Wei Chang felt it. A figure appeared behind the 3 of them. Wasn't that the hall master? He wore a golden robe with brin stones inlaid on it. Even his boots were golden. As for the pair of gloves, they were all made of brin stones. This was probably the upgraded version of the infinity gloves. "Hey," the temple master greeted him in a disdainful tone. However, it was this "hey" that made the 3 people's eyeballs almost pop out. When it appeared behind them, why didn't I feel anything at all? The 3 hurriedly distanced themselves from the temple master and took out the weapons that they were proud of. Those weapons were simply colorful, and with a single look, one could tell that they were high-grade goods. "You are the temple master?" Fu Wen questioned gravely. "I didn't expect that the temple master would actually be so pompous. Look at the temple master that's dressed in gold." "That's right, why did you ask such an idiotic question? Why don't we have a conversation that has a high IQ?" The temple master had a look of curiosity and expectation on his face. This expression caused the 3 to be very puzzled. This is different from what we imagined. Shouldn't the temple master be a berserk man? The kind that would kill whenever he comes out? Why is he still in the mood to chat? Long Chu said coldly, "Do you even have IQ?" The temple master went into a daze, then suddenly pointed at Long Chu and said with a smile, "Brat, I like you." "Wei Chang, This kind of confession came too suddenly, causing Wei Chang to feel horrified. No, this is turning a thriller film into a comedy thriller film. As the person involved, Long Chu was also very astonished. This man actually dared to say such shameless words. This is simply shameless awe. However, Jiang Wuyu was thinking, I wonder what kind of like this is, the kind of like that I have to bend over? This is a formation? Are you all the descendants of those few families? The temple master felt the aura of the formation and asked with doubt. However, if one were to listen carefully, one would be able to hear that the temple master's tone carried a trace of killing intent and unwillingness. The three did not speak. The temple master rubbed his palms together and said lightly, even if you don't say, I also know. It's not that I haven't seen this kind of formation before, back then, your elders also used it to deal with me. Unfortunately, they succeeded. The corner of Wei Chang's mouth slightly twitched. This temple master has indeed refreshed my understanding of him. This is a bit interesting. However, to Luo Chen and Lord Ming, they seem to have already gotten used to it. The temple master's personality is just like this. While walking coquettishly, he would take off the enemy's belt. Hearing what the temple master said, the three were delighted in their hearts. Seems like this formation is effective. I lied to you all, you even believe this, idiots. The temple master suddenly laughed loudly, appearing to be very happy. The three's expressions stiffened. This temple master is really mischievous to the extreme. However, being able to see you all, I am at ease. The temple master suddenly said with incomparable sadness. Jiang Wuyu asked gravely, what do you mean? For you all to appear, it means that your fathers are all dead, you all are truly stupid. The temple master stretched out his index finger, seemingly feeling that his hair was a bit itchy, but he felt that it was impolite to take off the crown, so he poked his index finger into the crown through the gap. However, after he poked his index finger into the crown, his index finger got stuck. Awkward, this kind of awkward atmosphere appeared again. Could it be that this happened as well? Wei Chang asked confusedly. Luo Chen cried out involuntarily, this seems to be an accident. Wei Chang shook his head. This is really too careless. Right now, the temple master was pulling out his index finger, and he casually said to the three, I let you all watch a joke, it was a mistake, wait for me to pull out my index finger, then I will beat you all to death. The three, such arrogant words. Have you eaten garlic? Finally, the temple master carefully pulled out his index finger, let out a heavy breath, and once again wore the crown. End of this chapter. Chapter 1252. The palace master's gaze turned cold as he stared at the three of them. The three of them had already assumed an attacking stance. Look, is it crooked? The palace master held on to his crown and asked. The three of them had the same thought in their minds. I really want to beat him to death. Speak. The palace master held on to his crown and appeared to be very serious. This meant that he was a respectable person. Fu Wen swallowed his saliva. It's a bit crooked. Left or right? A bit to the left. A bit more, a bit more. A bit more to the right. A bit less, a bit more to the right, a bit more to the back. It's done. The palace master seemed to have completed a huge task and let out a breath. Thank you, you guys are really good people. Good people should be rewarded. Don't meet me again in your next life. Ha! The three of them shouted out angrily and released all of their strength. The world seemed to be able to feel the three's anger and killing intent. Violent winds blew, and the color of the sky instantly became much dimmer. The heavy downpour disappeared, and what replaced it was waves of rumbling sounds that seemed as if the entire ground was going to explode. Good. As expected of the descendants of the four great families. Please allow me to take a shit, you guys should know how many years I have endured this shit. Luo Chen, bring me some paper. Yes. Palace Master. Jiang Wuyu and the others watched as the palace master took the paper, ran behind a huge rock, took off his pants, and squatted down. Pfff, my God. Why? Why? How did my father seal me back then? Right now, I seem to be committing suicide, so I released all of my aura, and you are telling me that you want to take a shit. Is there something wrong with you? Other than the killing intent and oppressiveness in the air, there was suddenly an additional vile stench. This was a pile of shit that had been suppressed for tens of thousands of years. That kind of stench was simply enough to make one's hair stand on end. To Jiang Wuyu and the others who had just eaten breakfast, this was simply the strongest poison. I want to vomit. Ugh. Drunken Ming couldn't take it anymore. However, Luo Chen pressed onto Drunken Ming and said gravely, Drunken Ming. You can't vomit, this is the aura of the Palace Master, you have to experience it with a grateful heart. Within this aura, there is a faint taste of knowledge. Wei Chang's face darkened. Bullsh *T, this is smelly. To actually let you speak of such a great principle, look at that Drunken Ming who actually believed in it. Drunken Ming closed his eyes and sniffed the air, but that face of his that had already turned green. I'm about to be unable to hold on for much longer. Wei Chang felt that drunken cry had swallowed his vomit again. F***ck me. I feel like vomiting, this is the most disgusting team that I, Wei, have ever seen. Fuck, this fellow wouldn't go and eat shit later, right? However, Jiang Wuyu and the others didn't feel good either. They could even hear the filthy voice spiraling down and emitting a foul stench. Finally, seeing that the hall master was cleaning up the mess, the trio heaved a sigh of relief. I'm sorry, I have been holding it in for too long, it's a bit smelly. The palace master waved his hand towards the three people. However, the three people immediately looked towards the palace master's hand. I really don't want to fight with him anymore. This is too disgusting. Do you want to use your own shit as a weapon? If so, then fine, I admit defeat. The palace master flew to a spot not far away from the three of them, and his expression turned grave again. However, the three of them didn't believe that the palace master would say something weird. It's definitely going to be like this. Don't be fooled by his outer appearance. Aren't you all going to prepare? The palace master asked confusedly. Like hell I'll believe you all, you are extremely evil. Seems like you all are going to accept your death, then. I'm going to beat you all to death. Right after finished speaking, the palace master's figure disappeared. Jiang Wuyu and the others were completely unable to react. Why did this palace master suddenly become so serious? Long Chu looked at the fist that was gradually becoming bigger in front of him, and he wanted to stretch out his hand to block the fist or take out his artifact. However, the palace master's speed was too fast, and before I could even raise my hand, the fist had already landed onto my face. Afterward, I no longer have any intuition. Bang! The fist released a berserk airwave, but because the fist was too strong, Long Chu's head directly exploded, and the primordial spirit that was inside the head was also shattered. Instant kill with a single punch. Yihua had killed Dongwang Ci with a single slap earlier, but he had controlled his strength very well, and didn't smash Dongwang Ci's face. However, the palace master smashed Dongwang Ci's face with a single punch. Long Chu died just like that. This was something that Jiang Wuyu and Fu Wen didn't expect. It happened too quickly, and they weren't able to react at all. Is this palace master really that abnormal? However, Jiang Wuyu was thinking in his heart, is this palace master or that man from before the palace master is abnormal? I really don't know. I didn't control myself for a moment, I didn't want to kill him, I just wanted to scare him a bit. The palace master flung away the blood on his hand, and with a tone that carried a bit of innocence, expressing that I didn't kill him on purpose. Jiang Wuyu shouted out angrily, if I continue to believe you, then I will change my surname to yours. Spiritual rush. Jiang Wuyu shouted out angrily, and the formation beneath his feet immediately shone brightly, and a dense aura wrapped around the palace master. Shock could be seen in the palace master's eyes. You all. What is this thing? Jiang Wuyu said coldly, this was specially made for you. double formation and sword arts. Together with this spiritual rush, it will be able to completely suppress you. After finished speaking, Jiang Wuyu looked towards Fu Wen. What are you still waiting for? Hurry up. Fu Wen came back to his senses and formed a sword art with both hands, and the huge sword's body emitted a red glow. Swoosh! Countless small swords appeared on the sword's body, and instantly, sword intent surged, each sword emitting a terrifying energy. This caused the palace master to be extremely shocked. How did you all know? Fu Wen seemed to have already seen hope. How could it be? You seem to be lying every single time. But when you were talking about this formation, I can see the fear in your eyes. Because you were afraid. Jiang Wuyu replied, feeling very pleased. Back then, his father had used this move to defeat the palace master. This time, he could do it too. No. This palace master isn't afraid of your moves. Back then, it was a mistake. This time, it definitely won't happen again. The palace master shouted angrily with a terrified tone, and his whole body started to struggle, but no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't break free. Even as he struggled, the formation emitted lightning, forming many electric whips that lashed at him. Crackle, crackle. You're just an arrogant palace master, and you still dare to shit. Go and eat shit. Fu Wen shouted coldly, as if he wanted to shout out all the fear in his heart. When Long Chu died just now, it was too terrifying. That kind of result where he couldn't even react made one's hair stand on end. If that fist had landed on his head just now, the outcome might have been the same. But now, it wouldn't happen again. It was only a moment of carelessness that allowed the palace master to succeed, but this time, he wouldn't hold back anymore. You bastards. How dare you plot against this palace master? What are you all still looking at? Come and save me. The palace master shouted at Luo Chen, his heart-wrenching appearance really shocking everyone. End of this chapter. Chapter 1253. It's useless. No one can save you. What awaits you is blood and death. Your arrogance will bury your life. For the next tens of thousands of years, you will continue to sleep here. Your believers will be tied to a burning rack and burned to ashes. Fu Wen opened his arms, and his powerful voice came out from his mouth. Wei Chang's blood was boiling. It was a pity that this guy didn't become a teacher. Jiang Wuyu was shocked to hear this. You actually thought of this in such a short time? It must be fake. Hey, did you just think of this? Jiang Wuyu asked curiously. No, I thought of it last night. I didn't expect to have a use for it. How is it? Not bad, right? Fu Wen was a little proud. He thought that he wouldn't be able to use it today. Jiang Wuyu nodded. Not bad. This victory declaration is very domineering. It should be like this. But those people are a little tricky, Fu Wen whispered. Jiang Wuyu said in a low voice, I feel that there's something wrong with that smiling guy. He won't be easy to deal with. Yeah, is his face cramping or something? The temple master saw the two chatting and screamed, It hurts. I'm going to kill you. Let me go if you have the guts. Trash. Humph, I thought you were very powerful, but in the end, this is all you amount to. Die. Fu Wen roared, and tens of thousands of flying swords attacked the temple master with a scorching aura. The hall master revealed a look of despair as he roared, You traitors, this hall master is about to die, but you actually ignored me. Even if this hall master becomes a ghost, I will not let you go. And you too, if this hall master was not careless, would have killed you with a single punch. Vile people intoxicated by success. Jiang Wuyu laughed loudly. Temple master, you just came out to take a dump and then went back to hold it in. I'm afraid this time, you won't be able to take a dump anymore. Just you wait. One day, I'll come out and kill all of you, the temple master roared. That kind of despair and anger was too tragic. Looking at the countless flying swords, the temple master let out a cry as his heart was pierced by the swords. Jiang Wuyu was a little puzzled. Why do you think the temple master's subordinates didn't do anything? Did they really betray us? I don't think so. He even knelt down earlier, Fu Wenqingsheng said. He was feeling puzzled as well. Just like that, Wei Chang watched as the palace master's heart was pierced by 10,000 swords. This palace master was such a gray color. Were they taken care of by these small fries? Then why would I, Wei Chang, still be a spy and play tricks? What's going on? Wei Chang asked curiously. Falling Dust laughed softly and said, "It's fine. The hall master just came out. It's very normal for him to want to play. Can you understand? You call this a game?" This hall master was a little abnormal. Wei Chang decided to continue watching. However, Lord Ming said in a low voice, "What's wrong? Seeing that the temple master is dying, you have an idea?" "Lord Ming, you've misunderstood. I'm just worried about the palace master. I'm afraid that something might have happened to the palace master," Wei Chang explained with a smile. "Humph, I won't believe you." Lord Ming seemed to have made up his mind, and he wouldn't change it even if he was beaten to death. "All right, the hall master has appeared. Do you still want to quarrel?" Hall master saw it. "Where is the propriety?" Luo Chen shouted coldly. These two people really did not know the rules. Lord Ming stopped talking. Wei Chang continued to watch the battlefield. At this moment, there were at least countless holes on the hall master's body. Blood flowed all over the ground, and he weakly fell to the ground, wailing. "How dare you all! You actually injured me like this." The hall master fell to the ground, very weak, as though he was about to die. Wei Chang felt a little strange. This hall master shouldn't be like this. A layer of black mist condensed in Wei Chang's eyes, and then he smiled slightly. So that's how it was. Jiang Wuyu and Fu Wen landed in front of the hall master with smiles on their faces. This was a little too easy. Although it was easy, at least they had severely injured the hall master, which was a good thing. It was a pity that Long Chu had accidentally been killed. Otherwise, he would be very happy now. The two of them looked at Long Chu's corpse at the same time. An upper god's head had been smashed by a punch, and his primordial spirit hadn't even had time to come out. "Hall master, look at your subordinates. They are all ignoring you." "What a failure," Fu Wen said indifferently. He glanced at Falling Dust and the others. He had a strange feeling, but he couldn't put his finger on it. Jiang Wuyu frowned and looked at Falling Dust and the others. He had a bad feeling in his heart. "Let's get rid of them quickly." "I feel a little strange," Jiang Wuyu said in a low voice. This sentence also hit the bottom of Fu Wen's heart. They had to get rid of them quickly. "Don't you have anything to say?" the hall master asked weakly. "Continue to sleep." Jiang Wuyu shouted coldly, preparing to apply a seal on Fu Wen. However, at this time, the hall master laughed. "That's not it. I still want to hear what you have to say, but that's it. I'm a little disappointed." As the hall master said this, Jiang Wuyu and Fu Wen's expressions changed, and they quickly pulled away. Jiang Wuyu pulled away, but Fu Wen's leg was grabbed by the hall master. "What? You want to run? How's my acting?" The hall master's figure changed again. Once again, the golden robe shone with golden light. There wasn't even a crease on it, let alone any injuries. Just a small trick and you all believed it. "How sad," the hall master said indifferently. That mischievous smile on his face instantly disappeared, replaced by a bloodthirsty one. This was the real hall master, and the one just now was definitely a fake. The hall master had only used a little bit of a facade. Wei Chang could see through it, but Jiang Wuyu and Fu Wen couldn't. Humph. The current family head is really weak. The hall master's left hand suddenly emitted a purple flame. Of course, it was a deviant flame. Fu Wen's expression changed, and his whole body emitted a violent aura. Even so, it was of no use. Death is only an instant. Don't be afraid. Don't ever see me again in your next life. Ah! Fu Wen let out a miserable scream, and his whole body instantly started burning. It was terrifying. The screams gradually disappeared, and in the blink of an eye, Fu Wen was burned to nothing. His primordial spirit flew out. Tue. The hall master actually spat at the primordial spirit. However, this different spit accurately stuck to the primordial spirit. The primordial spirit was like the soul, and this spit actually had a strong corrosive effect. Fu Wen's screams resounded between heaven and earth, causing everyone to shudder. Was this the hall master? Right now, Jiang Wuyu didn't know what he was doing, where he was, and what exactly was he doing. One's head exploded with a single punch, and the other was burned to death, and his primordial spirit was killed by the spit. Just what kind of person is this? Hall Master. Is this the legendary Hall Master, such a person? Right now, Jiang Wuyu didn't even have the slightest bit of desire to fight. The difference between them is too big. End of this chapter. Chapter 1254. This kind of gap wasn't something that could be achieved through self-consolation. It was a kind of courage that didn't even have the courage to lift one's hand. Jiang Wulua looked up at the sky, and fatigue appeared on her face. For so many years, she had to come here to seal once every month. Every time she came here, she would have to worry. She couldn't even eat well or sleep well. After reinforcing it, he was still thinking about how long he could drag it out. Even though he had already made preparations, but, what's wrong? Are you going to give up just like that? Are you not going to struggle anymore? The palace master was a little unhappy. He hated it when his enemies gave up on him. Look at me. I've been sealed by you for thousands of years. When have I ever given up? Never give up on yourself. If you give up on yourself, who can save you? No one. In this world, you can only rely on yourself. The palace master clenched his fists tightly, and his tone was a little excited, as if he had recalled something. Wei Chang said in a low voice, "Looks like palace master is also a man with a story." Yes, the palace lord had an unforgettable experience when he was young, Falling Dust murmured, as if he had also sunk into his memories. Looks like this Luo Chen had followed the hall master since young. Otherwise, how would he know? Is it convenient to talk about it? Wei Chang asked curiously. Lord Ming directly refused, "No way." But Falling Dust said, "Of course." Falling Dust, are you going to tell him about the palace master? Lord Ming shouted. Wei Chang is now the hall master's subordinate, so it's fine for him to know a bit more. He can also gain a better understanding of the hall master's character, so he won't anger the hall master in the future. Falling Dust's words were quite reasonable, and only Drunken Cry agreed. Lord Ming said again, "You will regret this." Luo Chen ignored him. Wei Chang was the future hall master's general, so he had to carry his trust. If he did not say it now, Wei Chang might have other thoughts in his heart. However, even if he didn't say it, Wei Chang had his own thoughts. As a qualified spy, Wei Chang worked his heart out and even deceived everyone. After all, back then, Wei Chang had felt a sense of danger. He had been tricked and wanted to know who was behind these people. After all, the enemy was indeed powerful, especially with the mark on their foreheads. They almost lost control, but they still underestimated themselves. At least they weren't controlled. In order to obtain Luochen's trust, not only did he beat up Zhu Tian and his wife, but he also shouted at his honor. However, I, Wei Chang, know that the current his honor is different from the past. His mind is clear, and he definitely knows that he is just pretending to be in the enemy's camp to find out the actual situation. However, what did Yi Hua know? Wei Chang's acting skills were superb, and he portrayed that traitor to the fullest, to the point that almost everyone believed him. Wei Chang, when the palace lord was young, he was a monkey, Fallen Dust said indifferently. Hall? Wei Chang looked at the hall master in the air. Indeed, what he had done was no different from playing a monkey. That, until Wei T of the hall, Tian. Wei Chang knew that the big missy must have fallen in love with the palace lord, but she looked down on the palace lord because of his birth. The palace lord swore that he would become stronger. Lord Palace Master isn't the kind of person who tries to curry favor with others. He decisively rejected the eldest young lady's confession of love. This is where Lord Palace Master's charm lies. Fallen Dust was extremely emotional. Wait. I. Thinking back to back then, when I opened a bar with His Honor, there were a lot of young ladies who came to woo me, and some of them even put a price on me. All of them wanted to obtain His Honor's love, but His Honor rejected all of them. Take note, this is a complete rejection. However, the first young mistress threatened to kill herself, and the palace lord persuaded her with kind words. In the end, she jumped into the pond that was 5 feet deep, and the palace lord jumped in as well. This woman immediately found out the palace lord's intentions. The hall master had no choice but to marry this eldest young miss and play with her like a monkey. Wei Chang woo you. Was the monkey really that important? Not long after that, a princess also took a fancy to the palace master who was acting like a monkey. That princess was rude and unreasonable, and humiliated the palace master hundreds of times. Every day, the palace master would act like a monkey for her to see. The palace lord had no choice but to suffer the princess's humiliation. But I know that the palace lord is not happy. Wei Chang thought to himself, like hell I'll believe you. You're probably dying from pleasure. In the end, Hall Master became the emperor's son-in-law, but I knew that Hall Master was not happy. However, not long after, a powerful female sovereign took a fancy to the palace master. Wei Chang knew that the palace lord was just a woman's merchandise. How pitiful. Luo Chen, it's about time, Lord Ming couldn't help but say. However, the more Luo Chen spoke, the more excited he became. I haven't gossiped about the palace master for a long time, and thus, my words couldn't help but float outside. It seems like every subordinate has the heart of a gossipy boss. Yihua's subordinates were the same as well. Gossiping about Yihua had already become a norm. After the palace master followed the female sovereign, his life became even more painful. Every day, he would have sex with the female sovereign, but I know that the palace master was not happy. Every time the palace master was humiliated, he would look at the night sky foolishly. I truly feel sorry for the palace master. While speaking, Luo Chen seemed like he was about to cry, causing Wei Chang's face to stiffen. Lord Luo, how did you know? Furthermore, you know it so clearly. Wei Chang asked curiously. Luo Chen said gravely, because I am that monkey. Wei Chang's expression immediately changed. Ugh. So you are that monkey? My God, you have become a spirit, no wonder you dress up so weirdly. And then? Wei Chang asked curiously. This is much more interesting than me opening a bar with His Honor. I wonder what His Honor would do if he encountered this kind of thing. And then the female sovereign accompanied the palace master to act like a monkey. Wei Chang was puzzled, then asked doubtfully, is acting like a monkey that important? To the palace master, acting like a monkey is his only pleasure. Just that, in the past, he was acting like a monkey, but now, he is playing with people. Luo Chen's expression changed from regret to excitement. After all, the palace master did not play with me anymore. Wei Chang nodded his head. From what happened just now, I can tell that the palace master is very good at playing with people. In a sense, this palace master and His Honor aren't that different. They both like to make people go from despair to hope, and then from hope to despair. They are very similar. However, Wei Chang felt that the palace master and Luo Chen shouldn't be able to become good friends. There was one more thing that Wei Chang had been looking into, and that was why the palace master was targeting me. Furthermore, the palace master had already arranged everything, and was just waiting for me to take the bait. Wei Chang was puzzled and asked Luo Chen, but Luochen smiled and didn't say anything. Wei Chang didn't continue asking about it, and he could only wait for the palace master to appear. When the palace master appears, I will inform his honor and annihilate the palace master in one go. Wei Chang was even fantasizing that his honor would give me an award, then praise me in front of everyone. After that, I will be a bit more humble and enjoy the envy of others. Therefore, Wei Chang decided to go with the flow and look into what exactly was going on. End of chapter. Chapter 1255. You made it seem as if you were going to succeed, which was why I used such a move. Who would have thought that you wouldn't succeed at all? It's fine if you didn't succeed, but you even threw such an unstable strange flame at me. Do you think it's a joke? At this moment, the temple master could not stop the car at all and directly crashed into it. And right now, the palace lord only wanted to curse out in his heart. QNMB. Boom! A berserk explosion immediately rang out, and Yihua could even feel that the entire air was trembling. The explosion of a strange flame that failed to fuse with a strange flame is truly terrifying. It is even more powerful than that Bobo ball from just now. Seems like I, the Supreme Overlord, am not suited to fuse with strange flames. Forget it. I won't do this anymore in the future. I have wasted 2 kinds of strange flames in one go. It's not worth it at all. To me, these strange flames aren't the strongest. I don't rely on deviant flames to make a living. Along with the explosion of the strange flame, Yihua felt that the space around him had paused. However, this was not a good news, because after pausing, the space around him would shatter into pieces. Who knows if the space around him would be able to withstand the shattering of the space around him, and if the space around him was unable to withstand the shattering of the space around him, that would be bad. Palace Master, this, Wei Chang, don't worry. Everything is under the control of the Palace Master. Falling dust patted his hand, indicating that Wei Chang could rest assured. Wei Chang almost believed it. Right now, Yihua was rather shocked. After suffering such an injury, he actually didn't die. As a Palace Master, you deserve the title of Little Cockroach. Good job. When the powerful explosion dissipated, the figure of the Palace Master appeared. His arm was gone, that long whip was also gone, and half of his face was also sliced off, revealing his spotlessly white teeth. But now, his white teeth were a little scary. Blood kept flowing out. Right at this moment, Wei Chang asked again, should we go and help? No need, Palace Master is precisely using this kind of method to deceive the enemy. In a while, Palace Master will counterattack, and let the enemy know what is called formidable. Falling Dust had a look of worship on his face, causing Wei Chang to really not know what to say. The Palace Master's expression wasn't very good. I was played by this man, slut. Damn slut. What are you guys still standing there for? Hurry up and come over to help, the Hall Master shouted at Falling Dust. Falling Dust cupped his hands and smiled. Hall Master Hong Wei, this subordinate does not dare to interfere. You. The Hall Master seemed to know that this bastard thought that he was acting, so he didn't come forward to help. Come and help. This Hall Master is serious. Joy flashed in Falling Dust's eyes. It had been a long time since the Hall Master had interacted with him like this. Thinking back, that was something that had happened a long time ago. Palace Master, I'm busy. I won't help you. Good luck Mwack, Palace Master. Wei Chang was simply about to explode from laughter. Yihua didn't know what was going on, but he was a little puzzled. Did all of the Palace Master's subordinates betray him? I only betrayed you, but you have so many traitors. While speaking, Yihua brought out his pink fists. There is a kind of thing called beating people, and it is the kind that can beat people to death. When the Palace Master saw Yihua's actions, he was a bit alarmed. Falling Dust. Hurry up and help. Wei Chang. Lord Ming. Drunken cry. This subordinate wouldn't dare. Falling Dust took the lead and respectfully shouted. The Hall Master was simply angered to the point that he wanted to kill someone. What else do you all not dare to do? I am going to be beaten to death. Yihua twisted his neck and said lightly, prepare to be beaten to death by me. After you die, go down and tell others that I was the one who beat you to death. Perhaps you will still have some face left. After hearing that, the corner of the hall master's mouth twitched. Just a while ago, I was still talking to Yihua, and now, the hall master is actually talking to me. Yihua didn't want to be long-winded anymore. This space is going to collapse soon, and for everyone's safety, I have to quickly get rid of this hall master. Death strike. Yihua shouted out casually, then rushed forward. However, right now, the hall master was already unable to resist. If he was able to resist, would he still need to call for reinforcements? Yihua's right fist fiercely punched onto the left side of the hall master's face, causing the hall master's face to become crooked. Under this punch, a powerful aura burst forth, and the aura filled the space that was about to collapse. Is this still a fake? Lord Ming muttered. Falling Dust laughed, just listen to hall master's scream, it sounded so real, I nearly believed it. Wei Chang really couldn't hold it in anymore. Spare me, you idiots. You idiots. The hall master let out his final howl, then no longer spoke. After that, he became silent and closed himself off. Yihua tightly punched the hall master twice, and he felt that the hall master was about to die. I didn't expect that my strength seems to have increased by quite a bit. This damned strength, it made me become too outstanding. Right now, even without turning his head back, I am able to feel the little gaze of worship from the Empress. Of course, there is also the worship from my subordinates. Sigh, cough, cough, cough. The hall master let out a violent cough. His entire body was already extremely weak. After using 2 big moves, he was already completely exhausted, and he basically didn't have any thoughts of surviving. A bunch of idiots, and they are still watching from the side, while I, the hall master, am about to die. Do you have any last words? Yihua asked lightly. The hall master laughed bitterly. His tone was very soft. It wasn't that he didn't want to say it out loud, but rather, he wasn't able to say it out loud. I am just going to die before you, don't be happy too early. After the hall master said this sentence, even more blood flowed out from the hall master's body. I am immortal, even if the heavens are gone, I will still exist. Yihua snorted in disdain. Cursing me to die, you all can only do this. The hall master laughed, no one can be immortal, do you think that I am speaking nonsense? Just that I didn't tell you, back then, that fortune teller told me that if I were to die in the hands of a powerful person, then, that powerful opponent would also die not long after. How trustworthy is the words of a fortune teller? Basically zero. Yihua said in disdain, indicating that I don't believe in things like fate. Fate is something that is grasped in one's own hands. Whether or not one can change one's fate is not something that can be decided by sitting and waiting. Rather, one has to fight for it, even if one has to use unscrupulous means. Yihua, you are called Yihua, right? The hall master said with a slight smile. You speak as if you don't know what my name is, did Wei Chang not tell you? Yihua said coldly. Even at death's door, you are still trying to act mysterious. Wei Chang really didn't tell me, but Yihua felt that Wei Chang might have told me before. Him? He didn't tell me, it was that fortune teller who told me. I have never told him about this matter, because when that fortune teller told me that I might die, I didn't believe it either, and that's why I came to look for you. However, I didn't expect that fortune teller to be so formidable. Yihua. I will wait for you in the deepest part of hell. At that time, I will definitely win against you. Chapter 1256. Yihua was originally very happy, but after hearing this other kind of curse, even I became a bit gloomy. I nearly believed in you. I have seen too many people like this, telling you unrealistic things before death, causing you to live in worry. I dare to ask in this world, who else is capable of shaking me? Come on, you won't be able to see me in your entire life. Yihua stretched out his palm, and the palace master's head was ruthlessly grabbed onto Yihua's palm. He. Yihua, strong people have their own fate. I will die in your hands, but who will you die in? I am very curious, also. My name is Hao Nyobi, remember it. You sure talk a lot of bullshit. You are even more awesome. Yihua immediately clapped his palm, and the palace master's head immediately exploded. Of course, Yihua wouldn't let go of the palace master's primordial spirit and directly destroyed it. All in all, Yihua felt that this battle was still very easy. There was no difficulty at all. He just let his guard down for a bit. As for the palace master's final curse, if I believe you, then what difference is there between me and an idiot? At this moment, Lord Ming asked, could it be that this is fake? Fallen Dust was a bit stupefied. Right now, I don't know if this is real or fake. The palace master's head is gone, and his primordial spirit is also destroyed. The conversation between the two just now was very soft. Other than the two of them, no one else heard it. Wei Chang, Qing Su, make your move. Yihua transformed into his human form and said faintly. Wei Chang went into a daze. Doesn't your honor need me to investigate that fortune teller? After all, that is a mystery. Following what Yihua said, Fallen Dust and the others turned their heads and looked towards Wei Chang with doubtful gazes. And Wei Chang felt that when the palace master died, the mark on his forehead seemed to have disappeared. Seems like the mark was a trick of the palace master. I thought that it was something else. I knew it. Fallen Dust. I knew it. This bastard is a spy. You don't believe me. Lord Ming was the first to react, and he shouted at Fallen Dust. After finished speaking, Lord Ming continued shouting, do you know that the palace master is dead now? Didn't you say that the palace master was acting? He had played himself to death. You idiot, you actually didn't believe me. Do you regret it now? Falling Dust had an abrupt expression as he called out softly, Hall Master, stop playing around. Return it. Luo Chen had always been following the Hall Master. In Luo Chen's heart, the Hall Master was a person who knew how to play. If he didn't play for a day, he would feel uncomfortable all over. But today, Palace Master actually went overboard, and I even thought that, even now, the Palace Master's miserable cry for help was still echoing in his ears, and he was actually laughing. How would I still have the face to meet the Palace Master? Say something. Idiot. Lord Ming shouted at Luo Chen. Earlier on, when the Palace Master had asked for help, he had actually remained indifferent. As a subordinate, this was a dereliction of duty. However, right now, Falling Dust fell into a state of deep self-blame. So, Wei Chang has been a spy all along, even Lord Ming was able to see through it, and I foolishly thought that, I'm really so stupid, Lord Luo. Drunken Ming called out in a low voice. He wanted to stretch out his hand and hold on to Luo Chen's hand, but he didn't dare to. Falling Dust raised his head and looked towards Yihua with deep hatred in his eyes. Today is the day that the Palace Master is going to come out. However, it is also the day that the Palace Master is going to leave forever. This is not something that I want to see. I'm going to kill you. Falling Dust shot out explosively, and a sharp sword materialized in his hand. That kind of madness and roar made people feel emotional. Different standpoints, different thoughts. Towards Falling Dust's current state, Yihua was able to understand. However, a win is a win, the loser must die. This kind of thing had happened to me in the past, that's why I reflected on myself. I blamed myself. Yihua slowly raised his left hand. Clang! The sharp sword slashed onto Yihua's palm, letting out an ear-piercing sound, and a huge shockwave spread outwards. For those who dare to challenge me, I will naturally give respect. I will use absolute strength to kill you. Clang! Clang! The sharp sword in Falling Dust's hand was broken by Yihua. The broken sword fell from the sky, and it seemed so weak and unwilling. At this moment, Falling Dust closed his eyes, because he knew that this was undoubtedly suicide. Yi Hua wouldn't be soft-hearted. If I let the enemy off now, that would be disrespecting the enemy. Yi Hua aimed his right palm towards Falling Dust's face and said faintly, "Exterminate." After saying the word, "exterminate," a terrifying red flame sprayed out and directly engulfed Falling Dust's head, and even his primordial spirit dissipated. Meanwhile, the red flame rushed into the hole in space and disappeared. Falling Dust's corpse slowly fell onto the ground, and Drunken Cry directly walked over and hugged onto Falling Dust's corpse. Perhaps, only by doing this, Drunken Cry dared to hold onto Falling Dust's corpse's palm that still had some residual warmth. "Wei Chang. I'm going to kill you." Lord Ming shouted out angrily, then turned around and rushed towards Wei Chang. However, who was Wei Chang? Lord Ming wasn't Wei Chang's opponent at all. Before Lord Ming's fist could even touch Wei Chang, it was swallowed by Wei Chang. Lord Ming didn't give Lord Ming any chance at all. At this point, the matter was more or less over. Wei Chang walked respectfully towards Yi Hua. "Your Honor, subordinate has returned." Yi Hua patted onto Wei Chang's shoulder and said lightly, "You have worked hard. Subordinate only feels honored to be able to work for your honor. Your bootlicking ability is getting more and more formidable." Yi Hua laughed lightly. At this moment, Qing Su, who was sitting on Dou Fusher, came over. "Gluttonous monster, I thought that you had betrayed us, so I was preparing to get rid of you. Qing Su, you have become so fat, you need to lose some weight." Wei Chang smiled faintly. Wei Chang's personality had changed back. Lose weight? That doesn't exist. In actuality, the temptation of delicacies is much stronger. About that, big brother. I can't carry you anymore. Dou Fusher said weakly. "Carry me, if I fall to my death, you will have to take responsibility." Qing Su said solemnly. "Dou Fusher." Yi Hua walked in front of Dong Huang Baiji and held onto her pure white hands. "Are you worried?" "I'm worried." Dong Huang Baiji said tenderly. "Let's go home." Yi Hua lightly caressed onto Dong Huang Baiji's cheek. "I feel that my state of mind has improved a bit today. Compared to the supreme position, the people around me are still more important. Mother, wife, child, and a group of loyal subordinates. These are the people that I, the supreme overlord, should be protecting. Let's go home." Dong Huang Baiji said lightly, and her eyes were filled with love. At this moment, Wei Chang walked over and said respectfully, Your Honor's wife, that person." Yi Hua turned his head around and looked towards Drunken Cry. Drunken Cry was currently hugging onto Fallen Dust's corpse and floating in the air. "Let's go," Yi Hua said faintly. Soon after, he lightly waved his hand, and everyone disappeared from the air, leaving behind only Drunken Cry. While hugging onto Fallen Dust's corpse, Drunken Cry revealed out a poignant smile. Drunken Cry lightly leaned onto Fallen Dust's chest and felt the faint remaining warmth of Fallen Dust's body. Chapter 1257. Inside Wushu Empire's palace, Yi Hua appeared with everyone. For this trip to the 9 provinces and 5 seas, Yi Hua had settled everything. He found Qing Su and Wei Chang, who was acting. He even killed a powerful palace master. However, Yi Hua didn't take the palace master's curse to heart, and he didn't want to take it to heart either. "There are too many people who have cursed me, and one more won't make a difference. Some arrogant curses won't come true at all. However, for such a big 9 provinces and 5 seas to be gone just like that, I do feel a bit regretful. The fights between experts will bring harm to the innocent people. I will pray for those kind people, but for those evil people, you all can just go to hell. That is where you all belong. Let's have a meeting." Yi Hua shouted out lightly. This shout wasn't for everyone, it was for 7 deadly sins. After so many years, they are finally gathered together. Although the process was a bit difficult, it was still daunting without any mishaps. Especially this Wei Chang's betrayal, he actually tricked me. One must say, his acting is too good. The first to arrive was Zhu Tian. When Zhu Tian saw Wei Chang, his face twitched. Wei Chang. You traitor, I will kill you. You actually dared to hit my wife. However, Pig Liver Donkey dragged Zhu Tian along. Aya, what are you trying to kill? Can't you see that gluttonous monster is back to normal? Brett also appeared, but he didn't give Wei Chang a good look. Even now, he still remembers that Wei Chang bullied me. The facts have proven that Wei Chang is stronger than me. Yi Zizi also came. Yi Zizi was sucking on a lollipop and walking slowly. She was always wearing a gorgeous princess dress. Everyone, long time no see. When Qing Su saw everyone, he shouted out. Who is this? Why is he so fat? Yi Zizi muttered. The two of them were simply the cutest size. Yi Zizi's size was the smallest, while Qing Su's size was the biggest. Qing Su turned his head and looked towards Yi Zizi. His gaze was also filled with tenderness. This isn't love, this is a type of doting. After all, in the entire team, there were only two females, Yi Zizi and Brett. Brett was only interested in Zhu Tian, and the others didn't talk to him. Yi Zizi was different, and she could be considered as the person that everyone doted on. Fatty Qing Su, how did you manage to eat so much food into your stomach? This is way too exaggerated. Yi Zizi couldn't help but say. She even poked Qing Su's stomach. However, Qing Su only chuckled. Only Yi Zizi would dare to do such a thing. Qing Su wouldn't be angry. If it were Wei Chang or Absolute Heaven trying it out, they would definitely become hostile immediately. F***ck, you are Qing Su, I really didn't recognize you at first glance. The pig liver centipede cried out in surprise, pointed at Qing Su, and said blankly. Qing Su patted onto his stomach and said with a smile, Pig liver meat, I didn't recognize you at all. You actually became so skinny, but you are still ugly, pig liver macaque. Looking at his subordinates ridiculing each other, Yi Hua felt very gratified in his heart. This is what a big family should be like. Right now, Wei Chang was very puzzled. Could it be that his honor doesn't know that I am pretending? Why did they still think that he had betrayed them? Gluttonous monster, I heard that you betrayed us. Why did you come back? I was going to kill you. What a pity. Yi Zizi pouted and picked up the gravel under her feet. Wei Chang was very speechless. However, he still had to say something. Zhu Tian, Brett, I am truly sorry for what happened that day. At that time, I was hiding among the enemy's ranks, and there were people observing me from the side. That's why I had no choice but to injure you too. Wei Chang expressed his apology. Zhu Tian naturally wasn't willing to accept Wei Chang's apology. The meaning behind Wei Chang's words is as if he is able to fight against the two of us alone. That is because you took advantage of me being unprepared. Zhu Tian wasn't willing to accept Wei Chang's apology. Pig liver macaque poked the limestone under his feet, then raised his head and looked at the others, then said faintly, I was very weak to begin with. Zhu Tian, pig liver macaque. That's enough. Do you want to have a fight with me? Come on, I am afraid of you. Pig liver macaque was waiting for his honor to say these words. Right now, saying these words in front of his honor gave me even more courage. It's a pity that Dongfang Yuan, isn't here. If big sister Yu, is here, she would definitely be mesmerized by my figure. Yi Hua didn't stop pig liver macaque. A team needs this kind of quarreling sound. This is what a team should be like. In the past, when we don't quarrel with each other, we don't care about each other at all. Roar. A dragon's roar resounded throughout the world, and Lai Gu's enormous figure shrouded the sky above Wushu Empire, then descended down from the sky. Qing Su. You son of a bitch. I am going to bite you. Lai Gu was feeling very gloomy. After so many days and months, I have a wife, yet I am unable to return home. I have to sleep in that valley that is filled with mosquitoes, and I am about to freeze to death. However, the main culprit is this Qing Su. If it wasn't for him, would I be able to transform into my original form and scare a child? At this moment, Yihua had no choice but to stop Lai Gu. Alright, Lai Gu, since Qing Su is back, he will naturally be able to detoxify the poison in your body. Yihua said faintly. Your Honor, he has to compensate me then. Just how many nights and nights have I lost these past few days? Lai Gu was about to cry. That feeling of having a wife but being unable to get close to her, I even want to die. What's the point of having a wife? Qing Su said faintly, recently, I have concocted a few non-falling pills, how about I compensate you with this? Hearing that, Yihua went into a daze, but he didn't say anything. After hearing that, Lai Gu thought for a while, then said, all right then, hurry up and detoxify the poison in my body. Not knowing what method Qing Su used, Lai Gu turned into a human form, and it seemed as if he was controlling the human form with his consciousness. Looking at himself turning into a human hand, and even pulling down his crotch to take a look, Lai Gu was extremely excited. I have never been like this before, I hope to become a human, a normal man. Where's the medicine? Lai Gu naturally wouldn't let go of any chance. After having so many wives, I am starting to feel a bit powerless. Luckily, I have recently turned into a dragon, and I can finally stop for a while. Looking at Yu Hua and the others, they would occasionally come over to take a look at me, that resentment. But you guys don't know, I am feeling terrible in my heart. Lai Gu couldn't wait to hide for a while, but in the end, His Honor called me, and I had no choice but to appear. After seeing Qing Su, I can only act pitiful. After all, a guild is a gossipy guild, and the matter that happened will definitely be spread out. At that time, if Yu Hua were to find out about it, she would definitely use domestic violence on me. Yu Hua is really different from the time when we were together, she is really savage to the extreme. Here. Qing Su tossed a bottle of medicine to Lai Gu. However, Yihua's gaze had been staring at the bottle of medicine. The facts had proven that a man's masculinity is really unrelated to strength, even the powerful Yihua had to think about it. Lai Gu happily received the bottle of medicine. Wei Cheng, what the hell? Didn't you betray me? Wei Cheng didn't speak anymore, I can't be bothered to speak anymore. You guys, we have been together for so long, and yet, you still think that I betrayed you? At this moment, Yihua said faintly, everyone, quiet down for a bit. Gather. Everyone from the 7 deadly sins stood in a row. There isn't anyone in the center. Chapter 1258. Standing at the very front was Wei Cheng. Beside Wei Cheng was Lai Gu. Next to Lai Gu was Yizizi. Next to Yizizi was Zhu Tian. Next to Zhu Tian was Brett. Next to Brett was Qing Su. Next to Qing Su was Pig Liver Tang. Yihua swept his gaze across everyone. His gaze was fiery. It has been more than 10 years, I finally gathered all of my subordinates. The last time I saw them was during the final battle. Thinking about it, the memory of them was still fresh in my mind. Right now, I can still clearly remember that they are all standing right in front of me. Only, some of them became fat, and some of them became thin. This contrast is really interesting. Looking at His Honor's fiery gaze, the subordinates were a little infected. Later on, His Honor is definitely going to say some heroic words to motivate the entire team. Wei Cheng was thinking, His Honor is definitely thinking about how to praise me. To say in front of everyone, Wei Cheng, you have done well this time. In the future, everyone must look up to Wei Cheng. Wei Cheng's eyes shone brightly. His Honor. Don't praise me too much, just average will do. Come, His Honor. Yihua took a deep breath and shouted out gravely. Attention. The subordinates of the 7 deadly sins, at ease. Look to the right. Look to the front. At ease, I will say a few words. Everyone, however, before Yihua could even start speaking, Kaiyun suddenly ran over. His Honor, quickly come and take a look. There are a lot more people in Wushu Empire. Yihua went into a daze. He walked over to Kai Yun's side and looked at the entire Wushu Empire. From what I remember, the streets of Wushu Empire have never been packed with people. But now, every single street is packed with people, and those people are quite strong. I can even see the people inside the spirit beasts. What situation is this? Yihua asked gravely. At this moment, Luoho, who rushed over, said respectfully, His Honor, just a while ago, a lot of people suddenly appeared. They claimed to be people from the 9 provinces and 5 seas. Hearing those words, Yihua immediately understood. It should be Meng Yao. After all, only she knows about Wushu Empire. With Meng Yao's personality, she would definitely choose to save people. Where is Meng Yao? Yihua asked. Luoho took a look at Kai Yun. Kai Yun did not say anything, and this caused Yihua to slightly frown. I'm asking you. Yihua's tone couldn't help but become a lot heavier, and a bad premonition could be felt in his heart. Kai Yun said respectfully, Your Honor, within the crowd, there is a woman who calls herself Meng Li. She said that. Meng Yao has already, call that person over. I want to ask him personally. Yihua said gravely. No matter what, Meng Yao can be counted as half of Yihua's sister-in-law. Although Meng Yao's relationship with Yihua has already been blown up, I, the Supreme Overlord, am still able to see that Meng Yao actually still likes Yihua. Furthermore, with Meng Yao's strength, she could have easily dodged the attack. How could she have possibly died? Even I wouldn't believe such a thing. Yes. Your Honor. Luoho immediately went to call Meng Li. Yihua looked at the black mass of people, and his expression was very grave. Originally, he should have been happy about this matter, but along with this piece of news, his mood became incomparably depressed. The 7 subordinates could also sense His Honor's displeasure. Those who didn't understand the twists and turns of the matter were very curious, and those who understood were able to understand. After all, she could be considered as His Honor's sister-in-law. Not long after, Luoho brought the pale Meng Li over. Yihua looked at Meng Li, and Meng Li was also sizing up Yihua. This person in front of me is the big brother emperor that Meng Yao talked about? From the looks of it, his bearing is indeed extraordinary, and his little brother is also not far off from him. No wonder Meng Yao would be concerned about him, it isn't without reason. Furthermore, since he has appeared, that palace master should have already died. He is truly very powerful. Where's Meng Yao? Yihua asked coldly. Meng Li's expression immediately became sorrowful when Yihua mentioned Meng Yao. Meng Yao stayed behind and sent me over. Why did she stay behind? Why didn't she leave? Yihua asked gravely. Meng Yao wanted to protect her people, that's why she stayed behind. Meng Li said with a sorrowful look on her face. Encountering this kind of thing, Meng Li had no other choice. Yihua sensed for a bit. Right now, I am completely unable to sense the existence of the 9 provinces and 5 seas. The entire space has already collapsed. Meng Yao died, how am I going to explain this to my little brother? When my little brother asks about this, Yihua let out a breath. Your Honor, how are we going to settle these people? Luoho asked in a low voice. Yihua said faintly, settle them however you want. Yes. Luoho accepted the order and left. Yihua took a deep breath. Tomorrow morning is a routine meeting, I do not want to see anyone late. Yes. All of Luoho's subordinates shouted out. Meng Li looked at the 7 people behind Yihua, and her expression didn't look very good. Because, the feeling that these 7 people are giving me, is very terrifying, as if they are able to pinch me to death with a single hand. Yihua rubbed his forehead and walked to Dong Huang Baiji's side. What's wrong? Weren't you very happy just now? Dong Huang Baiji asked confusedly as she pressed onto Yihua's temples with her hands. Yihua said faintly, Meng Yao died. Ah. Meng Yao died? How is that possible? With her strength, she shouldn't be able to do that, if she wanted to run away. Dong Huang Baiji was confused. Sigh, Meng Yao is still so kind, no matter what her identity is, she is still the same. Yi Hua said faintly. Dong Huang Baiji seemed to be able to hear something from Yi Hua's words. Meng Yao is still that Yi, just that if little Tian were to find out about this matter, he would definitely feel terrible. Yi Hua, how about you go and rest for a bit? Dong Huang Baiji said tenderly. Go and sleep for a bit, think about what we should do in the future. Yi Hua suddenly felt a bit tired. This kind of fatigue was indeed caused by Meng Yao's death. After all, by Yi Hua's side, there was no one who died. As long as I wanted to stay, I would definitely be able to stay, not even the Heavenly Emperor would be able to bring them away. However, what about Meng Yao? There was simply nothing that could be done. The space had already collapsed, and even Yi Hua was unable to do anything about it. Dong Huang Baiji let out a light sigh. Originally, I thought that Yi Hua would be happy today. After all, I killed a palace master and even gathered all of my subordinates. Such an important day, what a pity. Dong Huang Baiji decided to go and cook a meal to comfort Yi Hua. I don't know how I am going to explain this to my little brother. After Yi Hua left, the 7 subordinates loosened up. After all, in front of his honor, the 7 subordinates were still very cautious and did not dare to say anything excessive. Especially now that his honor was in a bad mood, if they were to say anything excessive, they would be scolded by his honor. I think it is better for me to go back and find my wives. Bye-bye everyone. Lai Gu still missed his wives a lot. Other than Yu Hua, there are still 3 of them, you know? Zhu Tian said, those 3 wives of yours went out to train. Chapter 1259. Training? Lai Gu was puzzled. Those 3 women went to train? What is training? Brett added, they wanted to cure your poison, so they chose to go train. Isn't it just training? Where did they go? Lai Gu had an indifferent look on his face. No wonder they didn't appear during this period of time. It was always Yu Hua who came over to chat with me. That place is filled with prehistoric beasts. Lai Gu originally had an indifferent look on his face, but after hearing what Zhu Tian said, he immediately froze. I naturally know that place. It doesn't matter if I go there, but, if they go there, it will be very dangerous. Prehistoric beasts are also divided into different levels. Some of the rare prehistoric beasts are very ferocious. If one is not careful, one will die. Brett said faintly, a lot of people went there. Tang Wei went there too. Just as Wei Chang was about to leave to find Tang Wei, he immediately stopped his footsteps, then looked towards Brett and asked gravely, you said that Tang Wei went there too? That's right, Green and Red brothers, Li Hun, Sun Fong and the others all went there, and of course, his honor's younger brother went there too. Brett said in a low voice. Wei Chang immediately wanted to teleport over to take a look at Tang Wei, but Zhu Tian immediately stopped him. His honor said that no one is allowed to go and help, but you don't have to worry, I have been watching their every move. Although they look a bit battered right now, they won't die. Zhu Tian hurriedly persuaded. Wei Chang didn't go over forcefully, because this was Yi Hua's order, and Wei Chang didn't dare to disobey. Meanwhile, Dou Fusher, who was not far away, was already stupefied. My wife actually went there. Why is this happening? Luckily, Great God Zhu Tian said that they are fine. That's good enough. What everyone doesn't know is that Zhu Tian had only described it briefly, and in actuality, it wasn't battered, it was miserable. At this very moment, inside a dark cave, no one dared to light up the cave, fearing that they would attract prehistoric beasts. This group of people naturally came here to train. To be more precise, they came here to seek death. Although they were still alive, all of them had severe injuries on their bodies, especially Yi Juetian. A scar had appeared on that handsome face of his, and the scar extended from his left forehead all the way to his lower jaw. This appearance of Yi Juetian made people feel that he wasn't that sissy anymore, and instead, he had a bit of iron-blooded manliness. The scars on a man's body were still very sexy. Apart from the scar on his face, Yi Juetian couldn't even raise his left arm. Blood flowed continuously, and he was currently circulating his energy to treat his injuries. The others were about the same. The group of people had been here for many days, but the total time they had spent here was definitely less than 10 hours. As soon as he arrived in this world, he actually landed on the head of a primordial beast. In ordinary planes, the great desolate beasts would usually appear one by one. However, Yi Juetian finally knew that the great desolate beasts here were all in groups. They wouldn't let people live at all. Everyone only thought about one thing every day, and that was how to survive. Tang Wei, are you all right? Wandering Soul asked in concern when he saw Tang Wei clutching her stomach. Tang Wei shook her head, I'm fine. Is the injury on your back healed? Almost done. Tang Wei lightly sighed. This place was indeed very scary. Everyone had searched for a long time before they found such a safe cave. At this moment, Yi Juetian said gravely, brothers, we don't have a lot of medicine left, we have to use it sparingly from now on. Without any major injuries, we can't use medicine. At this moment, LV Liang muttered, if I knew that it would be like this, I would have brought more medicine over. Yi Hong let out a long breath, big brother, the medicine will be used up one day. We are here to gain experience. If there is no life and death experience, how can it still be called experience? Yo, I didn't expect that you would become a lot calmer. Yi Hong said in a low voice, time can change a person. Don't pretend to be deep, do you think that big brother doesn't know you? LV Liang patted on his little brother's shoulder, and the latter immediately lowered his head. Even this was seen through. Can I, Yi Hong, not be able to get rid of my comical nature? Be quiet, don't attract the ferocious beasts over. The green and red brothers nodded their heads and did not speak anymore. The ferocious beasts in this place are too peculiar. You would never have thought that a blood-sucking mosquito might be a ferocious beast. The ant beneath your feet might also be a ferocious beast. Also, all of the bamboos in the bamboo forest might not be a ferocious beast. If someone with trypophobia were to see those bamboos, their face would become deathly pale from fright. Therefore, the group of people had to pay attention to a lot of things. How is it? Tang Wei asked concernedly. You did not have any strength previously, but Zhu Tian was not at ease, so he gave her a bit of strength. At the very least, she would be able to protect herself. Dongfang Yu, was the weakest, so everyone took care of her. Although she had injuries on her body, it was not a lot, however, this made Dongfang Yu, feel uncomfortable. Everyone was working very hard, and I don't need special care. Look at that arm of Yi Juetian's, it was caused by him blocking the ferocious beast's attack for Dongfang Yu, If I don't help her, Dongfang Yu would have died. Yi Juetian didn't want to see anyone leave. Big brother is their boss, and although I am not, I cannot throw big brother's face. Sun Fang didn't speak the entire time, her head was lowered, and she seemed to be thinking about something. In actuality, Yi Juetian's state of mind was uneasy today, and danger signals kept appearing in his head. Yi's appearance and Yi's cries would also appear in his head. If it was possible, Yi Juetian really wanted to see Yi. Perhaps, this is the motivation for me to continue living. Just when everyone was resting, armored bugs suddenly emerged from the depths of the damp cave. These bugs were just like bugs and feces, causing people to feel very uncomfortable. However, the problem was that these bugs were not moving alone, and were moving in groups. Furthermore, these armored bugs that were so small were also a type of ferocious beast. In the darkness, everyone didn't seem to have seen the armored bugs. However, in an instant, over 1,000 armored bugs were lying on the top of the karst cave, and below them were Yi Juetian and the others. Perhaps you might think that it is impossible for an ant to do so, but when the number of armored bugs reached a peak, then even an elephant would be pushed over. Don't look down on any opponent, this was the basic principle. Out of over 1,000 armored bugs, there would definitely be a few that were unreliable. For example, this armored bug was unable to endure it any longer and thus took a dump. It just so happened to land on the back of Yi Hong's hand, and Yi Hong could clearly feel that an unknown liquid had landed on the back of Yi Hong's hand. If it was in the past, I can completely ignore it, but, Where is this place? I have to pay attention to every single detail. Yi Hong sniffed the unknown liquid that was on the back of Yi Hong's hand, and the smell that was on the back of Yi Hong's hand was a bit abnormal. Chapter 1260. Big brother, there seems to be something above us. Yi Hong said in a low voice. Everyone became vigilant, and even their heartbeats became much faster. Following Yi Hong's words, everyone became serious, and they didn't even dare to raise their heads. Everyone was using sound transmissions to talk to each other. Run? Yi Hong said gravely. Other than running, there doesn't seem to be any other way out. Yi Juetian took a glance upwards and immediately saw densely packed bugs. These bugs actually know how to conceal their aura, and they don't even know that they are above us. That densely packed made people feel disgusted, and if it was someone with trypophobia who saw this scene, they would definitely feel very uncomfortable and might even vomit. Especially the women at the scene, when they saw this scene, their entire bodies felt cold. In this plane, the big prehistoric ferocious beasts might not be that scary, but the most scary ones were the small ones, because there were a lot of small ones, there were a few times more than the big ones. Just like right now, every single one of them was a prehistoric ferocious beast. If they were to attack, the consequences would be hard to imagine. I originally thought that this karst cave would be very safe, but it turns out that it was all an illusion. Looking at the dark night outside, Yi Juetian knew that both sides were very dangerous, and the outside at night was even scarier. However, right now, there was only one choice. And that was to run. Yi Juetian told everyone, 3 seconds from the countdown, run out without any regard for your life, and don't ever turn back. Everyone knew that facing so many prehistoric ferocious beasts, they could only run. There was no chance of winning at all. Following Yi Juetian's countdown, everyone burst out with an unprecedented strength and ran with all their might. However, the thousands of bugs seemed to be letting out low roars, and their delicious prey actually ran away. In the dark night, they were just like a group of locusts, letting out buzzing sounds as they chased after one another under the moonlight. Luckily, everyone's speed was not slow, and the distance between them was gradually increasing. Finally, everyone let out a sigh of relief. They seemed to have stopped chasing. Wen Xia said in a low voice as she tightly wrinkled her brows. Everyone did not feel happy just because the bugs stopped chasing. On the contrary, their expressions became even more grave. The reason why they stopped chasing was because they came to someone else's territory, and even they did not dare to provoke them. Everyone, be careful. Yi Juetian shouted out gravely. Right now, Yi Juetian had the aura of a leader, and under this kind of tempering, there was still an effect. Everyone slightly increased their flying altitude, but they didn't dare to fly too high, because there was a possibility that there were prehistoric ferocious beasts in the clouds. In this place, there was nothing that you could not think of. There was a possibility that even those unremarkable rocks on the roadside could be prehistoric ferocious beasts. However, there were very few great desolate divine beasts here. Everyone wanted to find a place where great desolate divine beasts resided. Only then would they be slightly safer. At least he could sleep well at night. Just when everyone felt a little safer, a terrifying aura came from below. Only to see a bright red unknown object attack. Its speed was so fast that it left people speechless, directly entangling Dongfang Yuer's delicate body. His reaction was still the fastest, and he directly pulled Dongfang Yuer's hand. Yi Juetian immediately drew his saber and slashed towards the unknown object with a powerful saber chi. However, it did not break and only left behind a thin gash. A howl sounded out from below, as if it was in great pain, and it let go of Dongfang Yuan air. This is a tongue. LV Liang exclaimed as he saw the mucus on the tongue. Yi Hong lowered her head to take a look. There seemed to be something jumping below. It looked like a stone, and there were a lot of them. There were at least 100 of them. After a few breaths of time, everything stopped moving. However, their heads faced the crowd and opened their bloody mouths. Run! Yi Juetian did not even think and immediately shouted. These were most likely iron demon frogs. In the book that Big Brother gave him, it was recorded that the tongues of these terrifying great desolate beasts were extremely powerful. From what he saw just now, it could be seen that his weapon could only leave a shallow wound on their tongues. Their tongues were their strongest weapons. They could be long or short, and they could even spin 360 degrees without any blind spots. That kind of terror was unimaginable. He even noted that if he met these monsters, he could only run and not think about anything else. Over 100 red tongues attacked towards the sky, as if they were missiles, bringing with them a terrifying aura. Everyone took out their weapons and dodged the sticky tongues. At the tip of the tongues, there was an extremely sticky liquid, and as long as one came into contact with it, they would probably have to cut off their tongues to escape. Just now, Dongfang Yuan air was only let go. To everyone, the tongues that were rising in a straight line were very easy to dodge. However, everyone miscalculated. Right after they dodged, the tongues actually turned around and floated away. Furthermore, the trajectory of the tongues this time was very hard to fathom. After all, there were over 100 tongues, and even their escape routes were all sealed off. Kill! Yi Juetian shouted out angrily. There was no other way, they could only kill. It wasn't that everyone had never encountered this kind of situation before, and they were basically surrounded and attacked every single time. However, this time, it seemed like it was a bit troublesome. The tongues were too powerful. When everyone's weapons slashed onto the tongues, sparks were even emitted out. When everyone's weapons slashed onto the weak points of the tongues, they only managed to leave behind a slight wound, and this only angered these great desolate beasts. Everyone was indescribably shocked. Are these great desolate beasts or not? How can there be such monsters? Ah! Yi Juetian suddenly cried out miserably. His entire body was trapped by 3 tongues, and he was unable to move at all. Following that, Yi Juetian's line of defense failed, and Wen Xia and Bai Xiaojun were also entangled in battle. With 3 less lines of defense, the entire team was facing a huge danger. Yi Juetian used all of his strength to break through, but it was still useless. The green and red brothers wanted to go and save Bai Xiaojun, but there were over 10 tongues that were currently tightening around them. Everyone fell into an incomparably difficult situation. After going through so many near-death experiences, we still ended up failing today. These damnable tongues, to think that they are actually this stubborn. If I had known earlier, I would have fought with those bugs just now, and maybe I would have been able to find an opportunity to kill them. How are we supposed to break through these tongues? Li Hun shouted out. Everyone knew that all of the great desolate beasts had a weakness, and as long as we find the weakness and kill the great desolate beasts with a single move, everything would be fine. However, there was still a need for a process. After all, how could it be that easy to find the weakness of the great desolate beasts? The long sword in Sun Fang's hand transformed into a few sword chi, but the sword chi was only able to slightly slow down the speed of the tongues, and was unable to harm the tongues at all. In actuality, this region was a no-fly zone, but just now, we were running for our lives. Who would have the time to care about anything else? As long as we are able to fly in the sky, we would be able to slowly torture these great desolate beasts. Every single great desolate beasts had their own strengths and weaknesses. For example, what about close combat? The space that these tongues had to move around in would be greatly reduced, and if we were to move around in a more coquettish manner, we would be able to make them entangle with each other. Chapter 1261. Here, not only did one have to rely on strength, they also had to rely on their brains. However, no one had the time to think about this problem. They were given too little time. A minute later, all of them were entangled, causing them to feel despair. Big brother. Yi Hong shouted out while looking at her big brother LV Tao, who was at the side. LV Liang felt a bit guilty. Xiao Hong, big brother is useless. I've let down my sister-in-law. Don't say any more, big brother. This is my own decision. Being able to die together with big brother is already worth it. Just that, I didn't get the chance to apologize to Zishan. Yi Hong sighed softly. She knew that there was no hope of escaping in this situation. These toads were simply too abnormal. They were no match for them in the air. Tang Wei, Li Hun, Sun Fang, Still Yi, and the others were all thinking about their own men. The first three either betrayed and kidnapped, and the one with broken bones directly turned into a gigantic dragon. However, they still chose to come over. Their courage was commendable. Yi Juetian was also wrapped around fiercely, unable to move. His gaze carried a hint of a distorted expression, as if he was unwilling to die just like that. However, just as Yi Juetian was struggling, the power in his body was gradually fading away. Yi Juetian turned pale with fright. These prehistoric ferocious beasts are actually able to absorb the power of their prey, causing their prey to be unable to struggle or resist. Everyone felt their strength gradually draining away, and their bodies became limp. However, their minds were still clear, and they knew that they were doomed. Right now, Yi Juetian didn't have any other choice, and the first thing that appeared in his mind was his mother. I can't be filial to my mother anymore, and there's still Big Brother. In the future, I'll have to rely on Big Brother to take care of my mother. Yi's figure also appeared. If it's possible, I really want to say, I'm sorry, in front of Yi. Finally, there was Gong Yu. This woman had sacrificed too much for him. It was his responsibility to take care of her. However, from the looks of it now, I'm afraid that I won't be able to take care of Gong Yu in the future. I can only rely on Big Brother to take good care of Gong Yu in the future. Big Brother shouldn't make things too difficult for Gong Yu. After all, Gong Yu is also my woman, and I'm already dead. Looking at this, Big Brother won't be too excessive. At this moment, everyone was thinking about the person in their hearts. Only before death could they understand who the most important person in their hearts was, and what they regretted not doing. All of them, meanwhile, Absolute Heaven, who had come down to monitor the situation, was currently quarreling with the pig liver hyena. The two of them quarreled almost every day. They were like two women. The whole palace was their battlefield. They were like shrews. However, just as everyone was waiting for death to descend, a terrifying aura attacked. It was a crescent-shaped silver saber chi. With this slash, hundreds of tongues were all severed. Everyone could feel that the prehistoric ferocious beasts below were letting out howls of grief, and with fear in their hearts, they ran away. The tongue on his body gradually loosened. What happened? Yi Hong asked blankly. I'm already prepared to die, yet you are telling me that I actually won't be able to die. This kind of feeling is truly hard to accept. It seems like someone saved us. Tang Wei muttered, thinking in her heart, could it be Wei Chang? Is it really him? It can't be his honor, right? LV Liang asked curiously. Other than his honor, who else could it be? Yi Juetian felt that his big brother had come to save him. A black figure suddenly appeared in front of everyone. When the group of people saw this black figure, their eyes were filled with doubt. What was this? Who? If it was his honor or anyone else, is there a need for them to act like this? It was obviously not needed. In that case, it must be someone else. Senior, you are? Yi Juetian asked respectfully. To be able to get rid of those tongues in an instant, that person's strength was definitely above theirs, and furthermore, that person had even saved us. The black figure took off his mask and revealed an exquisite face. Although he wasn't very handsome, the feeling that he gave others was rather reliable, and seemed to be trustworthy. Me? Who am I? I don't know either. The black figure said lightly, and a confused look could be seen on his face. Don't know who I am? Yi Juetian and the others were filled with question marks. Big Brother had said before that in this plane, other than prehistoric ferocious beasts or divine beasts, there were basically no other living beings. For a person to suddenly appear in this plane, how could they not be shocked? You don't know what your name is? Tang Wei asked puzzledly. The black figure said faintly, although I don't know what my name is, you all can call me Guardian. Guardian? Everyone's jaws were about to drop onto the ground. Because recently, Yi Zizi had also brought back a guardian, and the guardian was called Ren Yao. However, this was also a guardian, so how could everyone not exclaim in admiration? You are a guardian? Yi Juetian asked in shock. Yes. The male said faintly. Then, do you know Ren Yao? Sun Fang asked. Ren Yao? I don't know him, is he also a guardian? The male asked curiously. Li Hun nodded his head, yes, he is also a guardian, and his name is Ren Yao. That's great, can I meet him? The male seemed to have a goal, and his tone was filled with urgency. Everyone looked at one another. What's wrong? Is there anything inconvenient about it? I saved your lives just now as well. Seems like this guardian wasn't an idiot, and he knew that saving someone's life was very important. However, he only said it subconsciously. Yi Juetian said helplessly, we are currently training, and we can't go back right now, so, if you want to go back with us, you can wait until we finish our training. Training in this kind of place? Everyone felt what this guardian meant. He wanted to say that this place is too weak, and there is nothing to train in. To the guardian, this place was indeed weak, and this place was just like bullying little kids in a kindergarten. However, to Yi Juetian and the others, this place wasn't a kindergarten, this place was hell mode, and just now, they almost died. Yes. Yi Juetian said awkwardly. Forget it, I will wait for you all then, in case you all die again. Everyone, Yi Juetian said respectfully, that guardian, we are currently training, if it is possible, unless it is a crucial moment, do not take action to help us, it is not good for our training. I understand, just now, perhaps you all had your own methods, I did an unnecessary move. Everyone, what methods did I have just now? I don't have any methods at all. However, these words, everyone only thought about it in their hearts, how shameful would it be to say it out loud? However, everyone was also puzzled. Why do I feel that this guardian is so strong, that Ren Yao doesn't seem to be this strong? Ren Yao only stomped the guardian's strength into a fried egg, if he were to absorb that strength, he would also be this strong. Chapter 1262. Let's have a good rest here tonight. Yi Juetian said. These monsters had all been scared off by the protectors, so this place should be very safe. With a great god by his side, things were pretty stable indeed. Everyone nodded their heads. Right now, there was still a bit of lingering fear in their hearts. Looking at the black-clothed guardian beside them, everyone felt that this plane was slightly safer. However, in Voidless Empire, no one knew that these people had just met with a life-and-death situation. However, the area outside the Imperial Palace was also bustling with noise and excitement. The people from the 9 prefectures and 5 seas had all teleported over, causing the place to be overcrowded. The streets were filled with people. Right now, Yi Hua was currently listening to Kai Yun's report. After all, Kai Yun was in charge of the city's security. Are you saying that those nobles from the 9 provinces and 5 seas are bullying people? Yi Hua asked faintly, while Dong Huang Baiji, who was beside Yi Hua, was currently peeling grapes for him. Kai Yun said respectfully, although it hasn't reached the level of bullying people now, among those people, they look down on the original residents. Adding on the disparity in strength, this is even more so. Subordinate feels that if this kind of thing were to continue for a long time, I'm afraid, I didn't pursue these people because I was giving Meng Yao face, but they still want a foot after giving me an inch. Truly hateful. Yi Hua said coldly. What I hate the most is this kind of people who think that they are infallible. You've only been here for a day, and you're already using your identity to pressure me. Don't you know? Who was in charge here? Who are you? To put it bluntly, they were refugees. There are also some aristocrats of the 9 prefectures and 5 seas who don't obey the arrangements and use their wealth to buy high-end residences. Yi Hua went into a daze. There's really nothing that can be done about this. With money, one can indeed do whatever one wants. Dong Huang Baiji rolled her eyes. Yi Hua, you have to pay attention to this matter. If this continues for a long period of time, it will definitely not be good. The natives will definitely have complaints. Dong Huang Baiji reminded. Yi Hua thought for a moment, then said faintly, Kai Yun, bring some people to go and suppress them. Capture those who are disobedient and behead them. With that, they will naturally not dare to be impudent anymore. Dong Huang Baiji really wanted to poke Yi Hua's forehead, but since Kai Yun is here, forget it. Yi Hua, using killing to suppress is the worst choice. Yi Hua said indifferently, I feel that it's pretty good. Last time, after I killed a few people who opposed me, all of them became well-behaved. Yi Hua, those are the ones who wanted to rebel against you, and their sins are naturally big. However, these are not. You just need to punish them slightly and it will be fine. Yi Hua laughed lightly, Baiji, you are still too young. Even if they don't exist now, it doesn't mean that they won't exist in the future. If we don't suppress them as soon as possible, they wouldn't know how to be grateful. Your honor is right. These people are extremely arrogant and sooner or later, they will want to stir up trouble. Your honor's actions are very appropriate, Kai Yun said respectfully. Yi Hua didn't care about Dong Huang Baiji's opinion and said to Kai Yun, go and do it. Make the scene a bit bigger and let them know that I, the Supreme Overlord, am not someone to be trifled with. Since they are in my territory, they have to listen to me. If they don't listen to me, they can just scram. Yes. Your honor. After receiving the order, Kai Yun immediately went to look for Yi Zizi. Things are going to be fun soon. When Kai Yun received Luo Ho's application, he took a look. The ones who were arrogant were the aristocrats, at least 10% of them. The others were still relatively obedient. Of course, it wasn't all the nobles, but Kai Yun felt that there were at least 1,000 or more who were very mischievous. Capture them and behead them. After Kai Yun left, Dong Huang Baiji sighed and said, Yi Hua, actually, there are other ways to solve this problem. Yi Hua said faintly, this is the most direct way. Kai Yun can save a lot of trouble. You women, your hair is long, but your knowledge is short. Humph. Don't go to bed tonight then. That isn't up to you to decide. Yi Hua snorted coldly, angering Dong Huang Baiji to the point that she directly went to sleep. Meanwhile, Yi Hua didn't go to sleep. Right now, he was thinking about the general meeting that he would be having tomorrow morning. This was also the first general meeting that he would be having. Therefore, I have to properly think about the future plans. No, there are still some people who are still training, and it still can't be considered as a general meeting. Forget it then, I will just casually say a few words tomorrow morning and go to sleep. At this moment, inside a luxurious tavern, a few people were sitting at a table and chatting about something. At the side of the table, there were some people who were very powerful. Among the people who were sitting at the table, there was also Meng Li. Other than Meng Li, who was a woman, the others were all men. Looking at their arrogant expressions, one could tell that they were the kind of people who had power and influence in the 9 provinces and 5 seas. Back then, when Meng Yao contacted others, she asked them to come to Voidless Empire. Therefore, other than the people on Meng Yao's side, there were other places as well. The place that exalted goddess Meng Yao recommended is indeed not bad. Look at the environment here. It's several times better than the previous one. The one who spoke was surnamed Lu. The Lu family's influence in Ding province was extraordinary, but Lu Xia realized that this place was better than any city in Ding province. I have a suggestion. How about we develop this place into our own capital? The one who spoke was called Long Yi. His looks were not good, but he was very greedy. He was also a member of the Long family, but Long Chu had died. Right now, only he had the greatest authority, and naturally, he would be able to become the patriarch of the Long family. However, previously, Long Yi was only a small elder, but the others were all dead. There was only Long Yi in the group of elders, so it was only natural. Long family head, this is a good idea. We can call ourselves kings here. Lu Xia was the first to agree with the proposal. After saying that, Lu Xia and Long Yi looked at Meng Li. After all, Meng Li's strength was needed. Meng Li, what do you think of our suggestion? Asked Under Lu in a low voice. Meng Li came back to her senses. What did you two say just now? Meng Li, what I mean is, let us join hands and take down this city. Long Yi said indifferently, as if taking down Wushu Empire was an easy thing to do. What? You two want to take down this place? Meng Li's expression immediately changed. What kind of place is this? It's that emperor's territory, and that emperor even won against the palace master. But these fellows, they don't even know, that's right. Long Yi said resolutely. A trace of bloodthirst could be seen in his eyes. This is the first time I'm going to attack since I became the family head, so it's definitely going to be extraordinary. Meng Li said coldly, are you two crazy? Do you know where this place is? Do you know how the 9 provinces and 5 seas disappeared? Do you know who defeated the palace master? Lu Xia said indifferently, Meng Li, we know what you want to say, but those are all rumors. Who knows who defeated who? Could it be that you saw it with your own eyes? Looks like you two are crazy. To actually have ideas on Wushu Empire, let me tell you. It was the emperor of this place who defeated the palace master. Meng Li shouted out gravely. Right now, they finally have a place to stay, and they actually want to monopolize it. They are simply bastards. Chapter 1263. Meng Li shouldn't have let them come here, it was simply a waste. Meng Li, don't make it sound so serious. Long Yi, don't believe in rumors, I only believe in my eyes. The people here are all very weak, I can settle them all in a few minutes. Meng Li, just tell me, do you want to join? Long Yi asked softly, there was a bit of threat in his tone. Even Lu Xia revealed a threatening gaze. Meng Li snorted, it's impossible for me to join. However, just as Meng Li was about to reject, the people standing behind Lu Xia and Long Yi stopped Meng Li. It seemed like she had no choice but to agree. Meng Li, we are after all outsiders, we don't know how long we can live here, what if we get bullied? That's why we should unite now, this is the wisest decision. Lu Chen said softly, this kind of consideration was still reasonable. However, Meng Li wouldn't do that, that was the emperor. The emperor who won against the palace master. Do you think that I am some newbie? Those who walk different paths cannot make plans together, goodbye. Meng Li turned around, and a man behind her stopped her with a cold gaze. Long Yi stood up and asked coldly, Meng Li, do you want to go and inform on the emperor? So what if I am? Meng Li shouted coldly, she wasn't afraid at all. If that's the case, then please stay. Long Yi's words carried a deep disdain, and of course, a threatening intent. However, right at this moment, the door was suddenly pushed open. 2 big sisters appeared. However, behind them, there were some people lying on the ground. These people were Lu Xia and Long Yi's subordinates. Who are you? Lu Chen shouted. Meng Li had naturally seen all of them before. These 2 people were the emperor's subordinates. Their strength was unknown. However, what was certain was that they should be very, very strong. I heard that you guys are gathering people to rebel. Kai Yun said with a slight smile. Yi Zizi sucked on her lollipop and looked at them with a playful expression. Long Yi laughed lightly, how could there be such a thing, you must have gotten it wrong. Kai Yun, how could I get it wrong? Meng Li, don't you think so? Kai Yun looked towards Meng Yao. Although Meng Yao and Meng Li are related, and Meng Yao even saved Meng Li, if they violated the principle, it would be useless. Even if the Heavenly King were to plead for leniency, it would be useless. Shielding people who are rebelling is not far away from the death penalty. However, Meng Li didn't know that what she said would affect how far she could go in life. To the 2 of them, they were from the same hometown. However, these 2 fellows were a little bad. No matter what, they were still fellow villagers. Yes. Meng Li said seriously. Although they were from the same hometown, these two people from the same hometown had already wanted to kill her. Therefore, she didn't want these people from the same hometown. Long Yi and Lu Xia immediately looked at Meng Li with killing intent. Yi Zizi said lightly, since you have this idea, then you must know the consequences of having this idea. Lower Lu, you kill that one. I'll kill this one with a ponytail. Long Yi shouted coldly. All right. Killing you is as easy as killing chickens. The sixth move of the Lu family's swordplay, natural great path. Dragon raising its head. Long Yi roared. The two's might instantly enveloped the entire voidless empire, and everyone could feel their auras. To actually dare to cause trouble in voidless empire, they must have grown the guts of a male leopard. Yi Zizi and Kai Yun looked on, while Meng Li was very nervous. You two, go and make a move, don't just stand there and not move. Yi Zizi sucked on her lollipop and said, you called me out for such a boring thing, I might as well go and sleep. Boring? Don't you find it fun? I just feel that it is fun. Fun my ass, I'm going back. Yi Zizi held back her words, then disappeared from where she was. Meng Li didn't even know what to say anymore. Kai Yun looked at the two people in front of him while panting with rage. You two are simply too trashy. I originally wanted to make my bestie happy, but in the end, you two are useless. An even more terrifying might was released out from Kai Yun's body. Both Lu Xia and Long Yi felt as if there was a small mountain pressing down on their backs. They were originally still charging in the sky, but now, they were immediately pressed down, and their eyeballs were about to pop out. You! Just who are you? Lu Xia found it hard to believe. This girl actually defeated me with her aura. How is this possible? Even if it was her aura, that was only aimed at me alone. Yet, she was actually able to disperse her aura, and even Long Yi was suppressed. This little girl, isn't she too terrifying? Long Yi was also incomparably shocked in his heart. Is she still a human? This little girl is most likely even more powerful than the family head. Kai Yun said faintly, you all still don't have the qualifications to know, but you all are going to die soon. Men! Bring her away. Yes. Flag Master. Luo Ho brought the yellow armored warrior and walked in, then brought everyone out. Only after Long Yi and Lu Xia walked out did they discover that all of their people were captured, and the entire street was filled with people kneeling down. Family head, save us. Family head, they said that they want to kill us. Family head, quickly come and save us. Everyone started asking Lu Xia and Long Yi for help, but what was the use? The two of them were already captured. There were still a lot of people who were watching the show in the surroundings, and of course, there were also people from the 9 provinces and 5 seas that were carrying puzzlement. It's only the first day that I came here, why did such a thing happen? Isn't that Lu Xia and Long Yi? Why did they get captured? Thinking back to what the two of them did before, everyone seemed to be able to understand. This kind of person's way of thinking is too crazy, the emperor here definitely wouldn't allow it. But then again, is the emperor here really that powerful? Exterminating the palace master? Meng Li followed behind Kai Yun. Luckily, I didn't act recklessly just now, if not, the one who would be kneeling down, would be me. Just how strong is this little girl in front of me? Even Meng Li doesn't know right now. There were more and more people who were watching the show in the surroundings, and all of them were whispering to each other and pointing at each other. Kai Yun coughed lightly, and the scene immediately became quiet. These people. They are trying to rebel. The great emperor gave them food and lodging, yet they actually don't have a heart of gratitude, and even have wild ambitions. This kind of crime is unforgivable. Kai Yun shouted out coldly. Right now, Kai Yun felt that he was very imposing. This is what a flag master should have. Execution ground. Suddenly, someone shouted out from within the crowd. Following this shout, everyone began shouting out. Execution ground. Execution ground. Execution ground. Seems like these natives really don't like them, they are going too far. Lu Xia and Long Yi took a look at each other. What kind of place is this execution ground? Execution ground is the place where Yi Hua killed people last time, and normally, only those who have committed serious crimes would go there. In actuality, Kai Yun was thinking the same way too. Since His Honor said that we want to have a big scene, we can only do it at the execution ground. Kai Yun waved his hand, and the scene once again became quiet. You're tuning in to the Journey of the Soul YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.